Whatever. All right, John, we're recording.
What up, what up, what up?
What's up, man?
That
All right.
hair is looking glorious as always, buddy.
Yeah, but look at that shine on my forehead. I'm ducking down, hiding into the fucking shadows so that you don't see my fat self, just my big shiny forehead.
Well, I'll tell you what, bro. I would take that shine over. So I have rosacea.
Like you have it, like you have that. It's like a disease, right?
I guess if that's what you want to call it, it's like a skin condition.
You get like dry skin and stuff.
It affects everybody differently. And it was weird because it was like last summer, my forehead started to get like a little red and like kind of itchy. And I was seeing this girl at the time, and she was like a esthetician or whatever. Like that was her thing. Like she worked on skin. And she's like, I don't know, you have good skin. Like it just seems like sunburn. So like I'd be like, I don't know, it's just itchy. You know what I mean? And then it would kind of like fade a little bit and just kind of like it was like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then eventually it started to get worse and worse and worse. And I'd be like, dude, my foot, it's so red. And dude, I'm like, I was like I had a chick regimen, bro. I was washing I had those masks I'm putting on my face.
But this was before rosacea, or this was
because of the rosacea.
Okay, yeah.
So like I started doing all this shit, and like, and I'm out in the sun, I'm out in all the elements all throughout the year. So
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
You're in stink. You're in
so like
stink and trash.
Exactly. So I'm like, I don't know, man. So I eventually, it was going on for a while, and it was getting worse, and there was like it was a mess. So I scheduled an appointment at a dermatologist. By this point, months later, it was a nightmare, dude. Like I would go into like people, what's up your forehead, bro? I'm like, I don't fucking know. And first they're like, it's eczema. So I'm like freaking the fuck out. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, especially when you find something like that out. Like, because if you had rosacea, you had it your whole life, right? Or you get rosacea.
Usually, I mean, you can, but it usually develops in like your later, like around like your 30s. It's like fair skinned people tend to get it. And your exposure to sun has a big, is a big factor into it all. But anyway, like, dude, it was getting like pimply, but it was weird because like it would go away.
You're probably having a heart attack.
Dude, I was a wreck, man. Like I was like, dude, I'm going to be single the rest of my life, bro. I can't wear it.
Life. I hate my job. I hate everything. The one thing I had was my looks, and now bang, that's gone.
And that's gone. Like it was dude, it was such, and it was weird because like I would drink, like sometimes when you would drink, like everything that my life revolves around, sun, alcohol, caffeine, that all triggers it. Tomato sauce.
But I'm just picturing you like having a whole different experience. Like you're going out to bars now, people are like, instead of girls being like, oh, there he goes. Like, look at him. You got big bumps all over your fucking head.
Dude, it was really, really bad. So then eventually the doctor was like, I go back because he gave me all this different medication, and he was like, oh, it's kind of like morphed into something different.
Oh, great.
It was like
that's the last thing you want to hear a doctor say is, well, it morphed.
Exactly. Like
I
look like the fucking Swamp Thing. Like
yeah.
Fuck? So
tell me we have a problem. The disease yesterday has morphed.
He's like all up my grill with this microscope and all, and he's like, I think it might be rosacea. So I'm like, well, what the fuck is that? So then he goes down the list of things, what this, that, and so he gives me different medications. Needless to say, it eventually cleared up. I mean, he told me I was going to be an antibiotic for the rest of my life.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like a low dose. So I kind of stopped taking it after it started cleared up. But I don't know. Like I start to feel like sometimes I'm like looking at it, I'm like, is my forehead getting a little red?
Yeah, but now you always have that. Dude, I'm going to tell you something just because you said this. And I really didn't want to like have another dirty fucking conversation or something. I was gonna try not to, but dude, when I was a kid, I had eczema. Like when you say eczema, like I get this flashback of like, how'd I get away with it? Because dude, I had it really bad in the worst possible place you can get it. And it was scary. I was like 12 years old and I'm going to the doctor. Like, I don't want him touching me, period. And he's looking at like, I have leprosy just around my balls and my dick. And I'm like, oh, please tell me this is going to go away. and it was like painful. Like you'd go to the bathroom or so. Anyway, just the thing that always scares me is like from what I always thought was like eczema, rosacea. Like I don't want to sit here and say I have rosacea, but I there were times in my life where I thought I might have had rosacea because I get weird dry patches on my face. Yeah, but I just think that's because I don't take care of my skin.
That could be it, and it could be the comment like, well, at 12 years old, I mean, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But
I was pulling that out at 12. Take a look at this.
Yeah, really. When you were having sex at 11, like, good thing you got that taken care of out of the way before that started to pop up. But dude, like now that we're getting older, I always have shit. Like I got fucking prostate issues. It's like the doctor's like, I go to the doctor, I'm like, Doc, I don't know what's going on here. Like I'm thinking it might be an STD or something. You know what I mean? And
but I feel like every time I go to the doctor, they never solve any of my problems. Like
no.
I go and they're like, yeah, your skin's really fucked up. And you're like, okay, what do I do? They're like, you just got fucked up skin.
Exactly. It's the same thing. Like he's like, I'm telling him all these symptoms, right? And he goes,
Such a weird experience to be.
He's like, he's got his, I know he's got like his pen and pad. I'm like, it hurts when I pee. You know, I'm peeing more frequently. So like, I'm nervous. I'm like, is this like something going on? And like after all this description, he's like, well, we're going to test you for everything. And then he's like, but I think it's your prostate. So I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like. Yeah, I'm like, the first thing I think is like, what do you mean, like prostate cancer? And he's like, no, I think, you know, you're getting a little bit older. I think your prostate's a little inflamed. And he goes, I would stick my finger up your ass, play it a little bit, but he's like, I think that's right. He's like, I don't want to mess it up anymore. And he's like laughing. And I'm like,
and you're like, all right, please, can we check?
Yeah. So he's like, let's do some blood work. And he's like, I'm going to give you an antibiotic. Meanwhile, if that starts to clear up before you get the results back, we'll figure it out. That's probably the case. So like I'm kind of seeing this girl at that time, and I have to explain to her that like I'm having some issue, and she's like all over me, and meanwhile like I'm in pain, like my junk is like painful, and she's like, and I'm like popping, you know, medication, and I'm explaining, I'm like, I don't know. He seems to think this is the case, but you know. And meanwhile, she's like jumping my bones, and I'm like, oh.
She's like, Tommy's so sensitive. He's so sensitive.
Dude, it was brutal. And I mean, but like she was so hot, like I was so into it, like, but it was like painful sex.
Have you ever? Because I can't even think of a specific time, but I know I've done it. Have you ever been in a situation where you act like you don't want to do it but you act like you actually act like, you know, I feel like we're moving too fast or blah blah, but really you just know like your pelvic bone is killing you or something?
Oh yeah. Like I
not tonight, baby. I feel like, you know, we're moving a little too fast. While you're limping out of the room.
There's been a few where like I can tell where the night's going, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling it that much.
Yeah. No.
So like I just got to keep drinking a few more beers until I'm like, all right, maybe this isn't such a bad idea.
Dude, I'll tell you what, honestly, I think that one thing that I actually feel for women is we don't have to do it as much. But when you have to say, like, it's so hard to say, especially from a girl's point of view, it's so hard to look a girl in the face and say like, hey man, I don't want to sleep with you, because you know, like women think guys will sleep with anything. And when you say to a girl like, yeah, you're just not doing it for me, like whatever, they take that shit painfully. Like we hear it all the time. We understand, you know, we're used to begging and just hearing no. But when you tell a woman no, it's fucking, you feel like you just sliced their heart open.
Yeah. Well, and dude, I've actually been called gay by chicks. Like if I don't like them, really, what are you, gay?
I've said I was gay.
You said it. See, I never went that route.
Yeah, I've said it.
You said, seriously?
Yeah, I've said it in multiple forms. I've said it before, and it actually got me laid.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was just joking. Like, I mean, I'm not like the kind of guy that would go into that situation. Like, it ain't like I said, oh, if I tell this girl I'm gay. I actually told the girl I was gay, like in jest. I mean, everything I said after that, I think I told her, she asked me what I was doing in Baltimore. I told her I moved from San Francisco because they didn't accept me there and stuff. And I'm thinking, like, in other words, if you believe that, you're an idiot. And
right, you're not paying attention.
And then next thing you know, I was telling her, my buddy that was with me, I was like, this is my boyfriend. And then I told her, I told her that he had never done it with a girl, but I had, and all this kind of stuff. And it turned into almost a threesome situation, but I bailed out. Like I basically, let me rephrase that. I didn't use it to get me laid. I used it to get him laid.
Yeah.
And then I left. And if you want me to end that story, I think it ended where the girl started to catch on to what was going on. So she's like looking at me and she's like, then she's literally started looking at me like, now you touch him. And I'm like, no, he just wants to do this by himself.
So did he get laid? Did it work?
Yeah, 100%. And then he hated my guts because I left. But like he did, like, because I think she was like a maniac. And she ended up like, dude, it was the weirdest thing ever. I was actually like, I don't know, I wish I would have said this in the beginning, but I was on my way to a date. I was on my way to meet somebody, and there was a bar down the street from our house, and my buddy that I lived with was like, "Stop by the bar before you go out." I said, "All right." So that was kind of the thing. Like this girl was kind of hitting on me, and I was kind of like, "I got to get the fuck out of here." So I just started saying I was gay. He was my gay boyfriend, and then I was kind of like pushing it on him, like he's never like had sex with a girl, yada yada yada. And then what ended up happening was, it was like, then I got locked in where it was like, she's hanging out with us. She's going to do us, but I have to like be there. So I went back to the room. Am I going to get arrested for this? but so anyway, if you're out there, I was thinking about being gay, but so we got her back to the house. And then I think what happened was after she realized, like, because basically I set him up in a setting where I was like, you guys do it, because he's never done it. Let him experience it so it's not weird by himself, and then I'll come and join. And then basically I was like, toodaloo, and just fucking rolled. So I think she wasn't happy at the end.
I would imagine from her perspective, she would be like, if she really believed that you guys were gay, well, she probably was like, I'm going to rock this dude's fucking world. Yeah. I either turn him straight or like he's going to remember this vagina as like best.
I'm going to turn this guy out. It would be weird if you ended up like falling in love with her. You had to keep that lie going. Like she's constantly like, is your boyfriend going to get upset?
What was that movie with Kevin James? With Chuck Larry or something like that?
Yeah, a great movie too. A cheesy movie, but a good movie. Good concept too. Like some of them comedies have like good concepts. Like, I'd fucking, dude, I don't know. When it comes to like that whole, like, see how we were just like, that was a case where I said I was gay for that reason, but like, I'm one of them people where like that, like, I don't give a fuck what people think about me. So I'll say whatever what I want at the moment, Yeah. I would be dirty if I'd be using it. Like if I was like, out to like, I'm gonna fucking put on a whole new, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. But anyway, it's like one of them things where like I thought about it many times for certain things. Like if my buddy needed something, I'll marry him if he needs it. Like, hey, what the fuck? I'm not marrying anybody. I'll marry my buddy if he needs health insurance.
If he needs some medical insurance.
Yeah. Why not? Like the only thing you gotta do is stand there and be like, I love this guy.
That's about it.
Cool. But anyway, so what we wanted to talk about today, there's some controversy going on right now with Joe Rogan, and Tommy, sent an article my way, and so I'll hand the reins over to you, Tom. And
well, so basically, the article I sent you from the Atlantic, it's called "Why Is Joe Rogan So Popular?" The story was by Devin Gordon. So basically, a friend of mine sent it to me last night. Him and I have kind of we disagree on a lot of things, but I actually really appreciate that him and I disagree on a lot, because I can have it's led to some heated arguments. But it's not the first time I've ever had that, with some friends. So
I'd rather have a heated argument and constantly have the argument and the discussion than just be completely shouted out or just no conversation at all. If you can have the conversation with somebody, that's amazing.
Exactly. And that's kind of why, I mean, first of all, he's a really smart guy. So I trust his opinions. Again, we disagree on a lot, but a lot of times I feel like by the end of it, we can usually maybe kind of see some common ground. You know what I mean?
What I found interesting in the article was like, and that's why I really want your take before I even discuss it, is like, I don't know how to take that article. It was like, there was moments in the article where I was like agreeing, and then there was moments it wasn't like the dude just said something that I didn't agree with. It was like something that I 100% agree with, and something that I wanted to stop reading the article. It was so against it, you know?
Exactly. And I mean, it's an op-ed piece. So obviously it's this guy's opinion, but my buddy is not a fan really necessarily of Joe Rogan. Not as much as a person maybe, but I guess he just doesn't like his style. You know, to him, I know one of the things he once said to me, he's like, he just doesn't really have any substance, which again is fine. I mean, because he's not the only friend. I have other friends that really into Rogan as well. But I read it, and I'm going to read you what I said. I texted my buddy. So I said it's trash and has nothing to do with me liking Rogan. In a world where people are walking around on eggshells right now for things they say, things they said in the past, or now held accountable for things their spouses even say, he's criticizing him for openly saying what he feels. Maybe it is offensive to some, but the great thing about this country is freedom of speech. If you don't like it, change the channel. And good points coming out of wrong mouth doesn't mean squat, which is the guy made a comment in the article.
Yeah, I know.
About
Alex
good comments. Good comments coming out of bad mouths doesn't mean squat. Which
I think what they said too is something like you're saying that the guy is actually off camera a nice guy or something, and therefore like it wasn't even about his comments on air. It was more like he's actually a good guy, and then the opinion of the guy writing the article was it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right. So I said, what the fuck does that even mean? He only respects opinions from people he respects morally. 1 minute he credits him, the next minute he criticizes him, which is typical for an op-ed piece. So they're not good for much. It's either going to validate someone's reason for not liking him or blow back from his fans. He criticizes Rogan's for some stereotyping, and yet he does the same thing based off Rogan's appearance and his followers. I guess his woke bifocals have him seeing a perfect 2020, and his millions of followers are blinded by the mist of his Axe body spray, which the guy mentions as if he's wearing Axe body.
But you know I'll tell you this from a guy who, like, the things that spoke to me in the article was where he said, you know, the Joe Rogan's podcast was that thing where he elevated from, you know, the guy, you know, from Fear Factor, UFC, and stand-up comedy is now the guy that is making you think or something. But the thing that I've noticed with controversy on Joe Rogan is it's weird that's why I really like this article. I've noticed this from reading comments underneath his podcast, and people started to say stuff like, I was reading one on the Elon Musk thing, and it said stuff like somebody said they kind of imitated the conversation where they said Elon Musk saying, you know, and then they had like some dialogue that was science, and then it was like Joe Rogan's comment is like, oh, do you like to surf? And I started realizing that what people were saying was like Joe Rogan isn't as fucking as intelligent as people think he is, or blah 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 blah. But what I think they don't understand is I don't listen to Joe Rogan because I think he's super intelligent. And I also don't listen to Rogan for him to tell me something to do. I listen to Rogan because he brings on all these different people with their different thoughts on things. And I think the thing about Rogan that's great is he's not telling you what to do. He's showing you 50 other ways that people do it.
No. Absolutely. It makes perfect sense because that's actually kind of one of the responses that I sent to my buddy in this text. And I said, the greatest thing about Rogan is he has a show full of people with different backgrounds, political beliefs, etc., and they talk freely with no corporate bias behind it. Even guests I don't agree with, I enjoyed listening to because of that.
Yeah, I don't agree with Alex Jones, but I enjoyed that podcast with Alex Jones.
Yeah, because I mean, listen.
You got to meet a guy that you think is crazy, and I think what I got out of that was like, I don't believe him. I don't agree with him 100%. But like, when somebody has 2 minutes in a headline or a 2-paragraph story that you like, if I don't like Alex Jones or watch Alex Jones, all I see is the crazy shit he says. Right. For me, it was interesting to see, like, in a 2-hour conversation with him, that like he's actually a normal person. He just has some really far out thoughts.
Well, and the thing about me and Alex Jones, like, I actually wasn't even really aware of who he was until Rogan.
But that's why people hate it. You understand that, right? In other words, that's what people get mad about is like you gave that man a platform to reach.
Yes. But the thing about him, and Rogan even talks about, is look, as crazy as he is, there have been things that he's pointed out from years ago that were actually legit, and people were like, dude, you're fucking crazy.
But here's the other funny thing too. George Carlin says this, or used to say this all the time. The government has created this thing, or people have created this thing, where if you say anything in contrast of mainstream media and the government, it's a conspiracy, and conspiracy means it's a crazy fucking thought.
Right.
And the thing that I think is funny about all that kind of stuff, just like you're saying, is history constantly, like, in other words, we assassinated John F. Kennedy. And then when people start to speculate, possibly somebody wants to assassinate someone else, or it's like, what a crazy thought. Why would that would never happen? The government, like as if nothing's changed, dude. Like in other words, I guess it's like every crazy, everything that when you watch a documentary that shows you like how dirty the government was, somebody was being an Alex Jones during that time period saying that shit. 20 years later, we're watching a documentary on how true it was, but simultaneously calling the next Alex Jones a moron for calling the government out on the same stuff.
The problem is then he goes off really, really deep ends. The public gets lost, mainly because it's touchy subjects when it comes to Sandy Hook, you know, and kids and all that. So it's like a really touchy subject. But even with Alex Jones, I know people that I just had a conversation with a friend of mine's boyfriend not that long ago, who went down that hole and explained to me all these different things as to how all of these conspiracies kind of tie together. And in particular, the Sandy Hook thing. Now, I'm not going to go that route because I really am not informed enough to say it's bullshit. I really don't know.
But the thing is listen, and I wouldn't either. There's no, like, here's the thing I think in my head. I was even thinking when I was reading the article, if you want to think it's bullshit, then go there. Like, in other words, like, I got no problem with you, because here's the thing that I think is true. What probably is bullshit is that there's 10 things that they did, just like they're doing now, where they escalated it in the media. You know, there's stories that might not be as true. They might actually have even had, you know how they have these things that they say, like, I've seen YouTube videos where it's the same guy at like 3 major things as like a witness. And he's like, you know, he's there because he's really just like a gun protester, but they call them paid victim. I don't know what they call them, but they're people that seem to be at these things, and they're actors. Right. And the thing is I think that's true, but that doesn't mean that the people didn't get killed at Sandy Hook. That doesn't mean that the government, you know, did that. But what it means to me is there's shit going on that ain't right. And Alex Jones sees those little things and puts together this bigger story. The thing is if by reading this guy's article, it's like he was saying everyone's job is to tell everyone, you know, what is and what isn't or whatever. And I think that the reality of it is, like, you're supposed to just, like, I would rather just watch Alex Jones for 2 hours, but also know at the end of the day that I don't have to believe him. What I think is crazy is that article was saying, basically, it was making you have to believe that everything on TV is then true. Like, they were leaving out the part that, like, you can figure shit out for yourself. And it was like, if you put this guy on, you're putting on false stuff or whatever. And it's like, I don't agree with that. I think that, like, what media should be is give me the information. I'll figure it out for my fucking self.
No, I absolutely, and that's what I was going to say, that I actually think, and I know this may be a controversial statement, but I think people like him are important because he gives you a piece of information, he gives you an opinion, whatever the case may be. It's up to you to go out and do your research. If you buy into it, if you're like, you know what, I think he's right about Sandy Hook, then you can go on WikiLeaks. You can go on all these different areas and do some searches where you can find the information you need. And if that's what you believe, then that's okay. Now, the only thing that I do think that sucks is, I mean, look, to these families that lost their kids, you know, because I'm not to that point where I believe it was a hoax. So I do think it's unfortunate for the families to kind of hear things like this. But I also do think it's important for the public to be aware, because for every time he gets something wrong, there is sometimes he may get something right, and it's up to us to research and figure it out.
What I also saw in the Alex Jones interview was, there's two things that I saw that the guy didn't like, but also made me laugh was he said after 21 minutes, he stopped listening.
Yeah.
And it was a 5-hour thing.
Yeah.
So he is actually representing exactly what I can't stand. Like you heard something you didn't like, so you stopped listening, but here we are reading a 15-page article about it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was weird because he's like, I popped my multivitamins. I drank the mushroom coffee.
Which is
I
disgusting.
did the workouts just to feel what it was like to be Joe Rogan. And I'm like, dude, I mean, do you really? I mean, I get that it's for the piece to kind of glamorize a little bit, to, you know, be a little over the top. I get it. But that's not going to help you get an opinion on Joe Rogan by taking some vitamins and working out.
Here's also what I think is funny about Joe Rogan, okay? No one's ever had a problem with Joe Rogan.
Oh, no, I disagree. There's been a couple times.
No, but I mean like a major, like nobody's writing giant articles about Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? It's like people definitely don't agree straight down the line with Joe Rogan, but he's never been like he may have been attacked, okay, like for maybe who he supports or blah, blah, blah. But again, this is what I also thought was, I mean, like Tom, I could be wrong. Like maybe there's things that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of Joe Rogan out there, you know, but what I'm getting at is everybody accepted who he was. He wasn't tied to any big money. He just kind of has guys on his show and they bullshit around. I don't really think it was ever considered something that somebody, like any backlash never really meant anything because he's not Fox News. He's not CNN. He's just Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Right. But Joe Rogan just signed a $100 million deal with Sirius satellite radio. And now all of a sudden he is the guy that laughed at the rape video. They dug that shit up because of this. But the thing that I think is funny is if you, again, in that article, what I took from that article was that, you know, this guy basically, you know, it was like the part about Twitter where they got into the guy where apparently he had a shitty interview with the guy about Twitter. And they kept saying he's not pushing or prodding or asking the right questions or whatever. Not to make this a fucking Democrat Republican thing, but I mean, look at mainstream media. When Joe Biden is on TV, it's like, hey, Joe, tell us why you're great. That's it. I don't see anybody pushing back at him. I don't see him getting attacked for shit he said. So for him to act like if you have a sit down interview and you say, we're going to get to the bottom of this and we're going to have fucking Joe Biden on, then you got to grill that guy. But if you have a talk show where it's like, hey man, I want to know how you live. I want to know what you like to do. I want to know whatever. Like basically to me, it's like Alex Jones is still a crazy far right lunatic, but it was interesting to learn that, you know, he hangs out at comedy clubs. You know what I mean? Like It was interesting to know that he has friends other than Joe Rogan. Like it didn't make me think, oh, now he's right. You know what I mean? As a Joe Rogan fan, I actually haven't paid too much attention to Joe Rogan recently, not because whatever, but what I've been noticing is he's getting attacked politically. And for the first time, you know, since I've been paying attention to him, I'm starting to notice that he finds ways to defend himself in that. Like, it's the only thing I see him do that he's afraid of, you know? It's like all of a sudden he is afraid that somebody's going to think that like he's not a Democrat or something. I always knew he wasn't a Democrat, but what's also good about comedians and stuff is you're not supposed to know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter what their beliefs are or whatever. And so I guess what makes me laugh here is he's only being in trouble because he had Alex Jones on. You know what I mean? I'm sure he's had like crazy far left people on or, you know, whatever. I'm sure that doesn't fly. Then even in the article, they mentioned that they went on to talk about aliens, like as if that was a crazy bad stuff. And here's the thing, dude, I don't know if I believe in aliens. I don't know what to believe, but it's a conversation to be had, and no one's crazy for having that conversation. I'm sorry.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in on aliens.
Yeah, I'm all in on aliens. And the thing is
and at this point, what's going on in the world, like,
dairy aliens.
Calm the fuck down, bro.
Yeah.
Let's make some fucking changes.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers all arguing about like, you can't accept me because I'm gay.
I can't wait. No, yeah,
I can't accept me because I'm black. You don't like me because I'm white. Guess what?
Yeah.
Bring on the fucking green guys.
Yeah, you know why? Because that'll unite us because we won't be black, white. We'll be the guys with two eyes.
Exactly. Bro. We need Will Smith to come out
Yeah.
and Bill Pullman to have that amazing motivating speech.
Yeah.
You know,
You see like Trump supporters and Biden supporters holding hands.
all holding hands.
Help us.
To fight the green guys.
Yeah.
You know, from Mars Attack.
Yeah. Then you'll have guys with posters like Green Lives Matter and shit. People on the other side.
There definitely will be people that are upset that we're killing aliens.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Until that alien comes to their house. But you know what else though too? I was thinking when I was reading that article was the Twitter part really pissed me off too, because I'm telling you right now, and I know from experience, and I'm not going to get too detailed into it, but the bottom line is this: Twitter is fucking bias, and Twitter bans people for their views or whatever. And so the thing is Alex Jones, okay, I don't even know why he got banned. But forget being banned. I'm talking about Twitter is going around deciding, you know, like like in other words, it isn't like if you look at Twitter, it's so confusing because you can't use hate speech. Just saying it, like some guy can go on there and be like, hey man, I disagree with the defund the police thing or whatever. And like if he says that in too tough a stance, they'll consider it like hate speech. But yet when you scroll around Twitter, there's shit on there that it's insane. You're not a publication. You are a freedom of speech zone. So basically, if you go around and you say that somebody can't be on Twitter, well, then you have to show that when that reflects in another statement that's conflicting or whatever, and they're not doing it. But regardless of my opinion of Twitter, I'm telling you right now, it's not that like somebody's being racist. Like it's not like a KKK guy openly supporting KKK and then getting kicked off is what people are mad about. People are mad because it's pretty clear and cut and dry that if you're a far right, but yet you're not crazy and you're not Alex Jones, you're being shadow banned and stuff like that on Twitter. And that guy's opinion of Twitter, the way he put it in there, it was like that, but that's not the true state. Like in other words, he's saying that, you know, Rogan didn't attack that guy enough. But meanwhile, he clearly agrees with one side of the issue, so much so that like he told his audience what to believe. Like that was like, you know what I mean? Like Rogan was wrong for doing this because he believes something else.
Well, but the thing also people forget is that Rogan also talks about, and I don't really want to go down that whole Alex Jones thing, but he mentions that he's known Alex Jones for years.
Yeah.
And he thinks Alex Jones is a funny guy. He's a fun guy. And he's like, you know, years ago, like he wasn't as, you know, unstable. So he's also, this guy is completely forgetting the fact that he also has a friendship with this person.
Yeah.
So despite the political beliefs, despite everything else, there is a common bond as a friendship there that they share. And that's one thing that, you know, I think is really important.
Well, you reminded me of something that I meant to say earlier, which was what Alex Jones also said, and they also discussed, was that Alex Jones said, well, a lot of it is like, you got to start being a character. Like it's show business. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so when I watched that, what I learned is that even Alex Jones is saying, look, I get a little crazy because that's what my show is.
Exactly.
And like, so simultaneously, if anything, I think he made Alex Jones tell his audience, like, I'm not really that crazy. I don't really believe everything I say. I'm a character. Which you know is a lot. And plus, I also know from like film, like when I did documentary film class and all. First off, they tell you to not interrupt. Like the best interview you can get from somebody is if you can get them so relaxed and just get them talking about shit and just let them talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Don't interfere. You don't have to interfere with it. I mean, and then this is the thing that guy was talking about Rogan. It kept holding him to different standards. And like it's sometimes in the article, he was holding him to like as if he was an investigative reporter. I'm sorry, he's not. He's fucking got a podcast. Look what we're doing. I hope to God it becomes something of relevance. But I mean, this is a fucking podcast. This is a podcast. It's people talking shit, figuring shit out, and more people, the better. You know, if anything, he took a chance having Alex Jones on his show, but he gives that platform to people. And what's starting to scare me is I think he's going to stop being like that. I think he's going to, he just got $100 million and he's going to start getting everything that he said he didn't want, unless he got the best contract in the world, you know, but yesterday it didn't matter. Now Sirius Radio might be like, hey man, you got to apologize for laughing at that shit.
Well, it's actually Spotify.
Oh, well, you see,
I mean,
I don't know everything.
no, but I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. So I don't know if it's how that, Sirius, I feel like maybe a little bit more corporate.
Well, no, no, okay, yeah. I
So,
mean, but listen, dude. Somebody gives you here's the thing: if they gave him $1 million, I don't think they'd care. When someone gives you $100 million, you got to answer to somebody. Whoever gave you that $100 million you got to answer to. And if all of a sudden people are like, we're gonna like, if the women's groups and Black Lives Matter say we're not gonna listen to Spotify, that's gonna scare them, and it won't matter to them. And also another dumb thing about that article, just to say this, was it said he had 6 million subscribers, and I know this is dumb, but then I looked and he has 8.9 million subscribers. But that's what it said. I guess what I'm just trying to say is not that he did anything purposely, but what I'm saying is like 6 million and 9 million is a huge difference.
It could have been when he wrote the article or was writing it. That's when.
I guess this is why I even bring up that statement. It wasn't even to like debunk the guy, but it was like, did he get 3 more million subscribers in like a week, or did he write that article 2 years ago and it's just now getting out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will say this, as when it pertains to us starting a podcast, we named it Laymen Terms for a reason. If you're looking for some woke intellectual to use words that I don't even know how to fucking pronounce,
you came to the wrong place.
Tuned in the wrong channel. All right, because I'm just a guy that's looking at the world. I have an associate's degree in liberal arts from a local community college. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have all the answers.
Prestigious. Delaware County Community College is a very prestigious atmosphere, Tom.
Delco strong, baby. But my point being is that just because I don't read all the books that people love.
I like that. Just because I don't read all the books, okay? I don't read all the books.
I don't read all the books. You know what I'm saying? Just because of that, it doesn't mean that I can't watch something on the news and say, that doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean? I can turn on Fox and say, that doesn't make sense. I turn on CNN and say, that doesn't make sense. And that doesn't, and I don't want to have to buy into, if I'm a liberal, I must buy into every single word that they say. And if I am a conservative, I must do and say everything that they say.
Tom,
that's not how I roll.
What people forget.
Honestly, that's why I get in a lot of arguments with people, because they don't know where the fuck I belong. Like, they're like,
listen, if I listened to what everybody told me, I wouldn't be a bartender right now. So also, maybe I'm not always right. But the thing that I noticed, the number one thing that brought me to where I am is you got Fox News and you got CNN, right? Now, because I dislike CNN, people think, you like Fox News. No, here's the thing. I know that they're both so contrasting. And like, in other words, how can one thing be a horror to America and the other thing be amazing? And you only have those two options. So if you don't realize at this point that you need to watch both of those things for the information given, I don't want your opinion. I don't want your opinion. I want to hear the president speak, or I want to hear what that politician said, or I want to hear whatever. And then I go to the media to get the information. If you sit around and watch the little shows about and if you listen to Don Lemon telling you how to feel, or if you listen to Tucker Carlson telling you how to feel, and that's what you think is news, well, you're fucking up. The whole thing is you're supposed to listen to what is going on, and then remember that these people are trying to deliver you their message. So you got to wipe that out of your head and formulate your own fucking opinion.
No, absolutely. And I actually,
Tommy's taking a dump again.
No, I'm pouring another drink. Which, by the way,
you gotta get a refrigerator like right by the desk.
This right here is a great whiskey. I'm not really.
What is that though? Hold on, what is that? It's Glenlivet 12, but what is it? But why has it got a different label?
Because it's
looks like a limited edition or something.
It's the 12-year single malt.
That's a sipper, Tom.
Double oak.
Dude, I used to. I don't drink excessively anymore. I'll have a beer here and there. I haven't had one in a while, but I got into whiskey very late.
So did I. I just recently got into it.
But dude, it's delicious, man. If you get all them flavors, man. If you're just swigging shots in bars, you don't know what you're doing. But if you sit down and sip a good whiskey.
There was a gentleman that came into my bar one time, and he was talking about
Tommy's doing his dishes.
I gotta run the hot water over this ice to get it.
We'll be back in 5 minutes when Tommy's done doing his dishes.
So this guy was looking at all the different whiskeys and all. He's like, you really got to sip it and just put it under your tongue. That's how you taste the flavor. He's like, 'cause a lot of people just take a swig of it and it's a little harsh. But if you just let it sit on your tongue,
yeah,
you can actually taste the flavor.
The aftertaste from whiskey, you start to realize, like, this is going to sound dumb, but you know when people say it's very peaty? You ever hear somebody say that? That's very peaty. It's a very, very peaty whiskey.
No.
You never heard that? Okay.
No.
Well, you see that smell? It smells kind of like fire. It's got kind of like an oakiness, it smells kind of like a fucking campfire or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, what peat is in Scotland, Ireland, London, it's swampland where we get coal because it's like decayed earth that has just compounded on itself over time. Again, this is layman's terms. So if I'm wrong, peat is coal, but like halfway through the process. So it still looks like sod, like dirt.
Right.
And so in Ireland, I know this from being in Ireland, but what they do is they actually have farms that are peat. It looks like a big grass farm, and they cut lumps of grass out like sod, but then that's what they fire their ovens up with. So basically when they distill those Irish whiskeys and Scotch whiskeys or whatever, they use the peat. You'll hear people say that's very peaty. That's really peaty. That's that smell you're getting that you won't get from a whiskey over here.
Right. What was your go-to whiskey?
Oh, dude, I'm like Glenlivet for real. Like I mean, even though I do like it, that was the kind of shit like you'd be with your girlfriend and her dad would bust that shit out and you're like, oh yeah, I'm a whiskey guy, no problem. But that's why I don't drink. I don't drink because I can't sip a whiskey.
Really?
I'm not an alcoholic, but I mean, like, I just don't have a respect for alcohol. And honestly, what I realized is I just ain't good at it. It's not even like alcohol. Like, alcoholics are people who are like, I need a fucking drink. I was a guy that was like, why am I even drinking this? Okay, everybody needs another round. Might as well just like, I would just sit there with my shit and whatever. And then next thing you know, but like, I could drink with the best of them. I'll drink all night long. And then I guess what happens when you don't have respect for it is you turn around and you're pissing on the bar like, hey, how's everybody doing? You know, and so, yeah. But dude, for me, which I want to get back into, is weed. I got really big into weed for a big moment, and then all of a sudden during quarantine, I just stopped doing everything. I don't know.
Dude, well, I get random drug tests for my job, so it's been close to 15 years since I've smoked weed.
Did you like it? Did you like weed?
Well, I was never really a big weed guy because like it just made me goofy. Like I just laughed my fucking like, and I felt completely out of control. Like I just couldn't control my fucking laughter. Like, and I was like bugging the fuck out.
Well, dude, I never smoked weed ever. Right. And then when I went sober for like dude, to be honest with you, it had to be 5 years. Like I didn't even fucking have a sip of alcohol, and I'm bartending. Somewhere around like year 4, maybe going into 5 or something, I started being like, all right, I got to do something. And let me try this weed shit out. So I tried edibles and stuff, but I'd never smoked when we were kids, because every time I did, it was the same result as you just said. Right.
Yeah.
But then I look back, and it was like every time I smoked weed, I was drinking excessively, and then somebody's like, you want this? And I'm like, okay, why not? So that didn't have a good result. And the other times were when I was like too young to even be doing anything. So you did get paranoid. Like I used to get like, oh shit, like I had no control. See, here's the difference. When you smoke weed as an adult, you're sitting in your chair, you're at home, you're about to watch a movie, or you want to write some shit, or you want to paint something or whatever. And you smoke weed, and all them outside, like you don't care that you're not paranoid. I used to get paranoid because you're high, your senses are elevated, you're more into your fucking situation, you're more aware of what's going on, and you're fucking scared to get caught.
Right.
But when you're in a situation where you don't give a fuck that somebody knows you're doing it or something, it's a totally different experience. That's my opinion. I miss it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, I guess it was like kind of like, I guess when I was never really a big smoker. Occasionally I would. If I just smoked, I'd be on another fucking planet, dude. Like I'd be out there.
See, I like it though.
Well, I also think I was a little bit too young to really understand how to like really
Well,
balance that.
dude, I'm telling you something right now, man. The fucking thoughts, it's so weird. Like the thoughts you have, it's like, it's not like you have these crazy, weird psychedelic thoughts. What you have is you'll see a situation and you'll look at it from a complete, like, I guess the best way that I describe this is me and my brother used to watch fucking Star Wars and get high, right? And I'm talking about like when I was 30, right? And I'm 31. But so when I was 30, me and my brother would smoke weed and we'd watch Star Wars. And what was making me laugh was we laughed at how horrible it was, at how fucking bad the costumes were and everything. And so what I realized was it was like the best way I could describe it is like when you are just watching Star Wars and you're not high, I guess, you're just sucked into the plot of the story. When you watch Star Wars and you're high, you're like the director. You're looking at like the movie for what it is. You know what I mean? So I guess if you can adapt that into how you like look at a problem and shit, it's so weird. Like you start smoking weed and you just realize like two people will be fighting. If you're drunk, you're thinking like aggression with aggression. And it's like when you're high, you're like standing back looking at the situation and you're like, nobody wants this. You're like looking at both people like, hey man.
Right.
You don't want to do this and you don't want to have a fucking, come on, you're going to hurt yourself. It's so weird. Like you just look at it with a totally different view. Well, which is also why I always wondered why, like, how did like people that we considered say like thugs in our neighborhood and shit, like they're walking around and their drug of choice is weed. Like how are they not just like fucking peacemakers? Well,
it's actually, so I want to go off a little bit on the rails here, but so I was having this conversation the other day about, there was an older guy I work with. So there was this dude, we're working on the back of the trash truck, fucking pitching, slinging trash. And this guy's walking down the street, smoking a fucking blunt, shirt off, just fucking trucking down the street. The dude I work with, he's a part-time cop. And he was like, the fuck is this shit? Like, what the fuck is this? As when we were kids, like, dude, I remember going in like alleys and shit.
Yeah,
but we weren't just walking down the street, smoking fucking blunts. Like we like hid that shit.
But let me ask you this question: the amount of times, like in other words, if I was driving and had like a beer or whatever, but then we know that I'd be shitting my pants. But there were people that would be riding around with a fucking ounce of weed, smoking weed, and I've been pulled over. And it wasn't a fucking, trust me, man, it wasn't a fucking white privilege thing or something.
I was going to say, wait, are you sure? Is this a real story?
No, this is not. Dude, I don't know. Like, but those people that drive around, I mean, even, dude, now it's decriminalized here. So everything you just said is okay.
In Baltimore?
Yeah, it's legal. Dude, I have a dispensary down the street from my house. There's like a dispensary on every corner, like a fucking Wendy's.
Well, we have dispensaries here in Delco.
Well, see, we have dispensaries, but we also basically weed was publicly decriminalized because they said it's not something that they want to deal with. So they basically said, at best, you'll get a ticket for it. So on the patio of my bar, I have to go around and tell people like, hey, man, I would never call the cops because it doesn't even matter. But I have to go to people and be like, dude, if you want to smoke that blunt, you got to walk around the fucking corner. But not because, you got to think about this, not because, hey, man, you're doing something illegal. It's like the same as smoking. Like you can't smoke on my patio. You can't smoke anything on my patio.
So do they have like bars where you can like weed bars and shit like that where you can?
No, but I can't wait. What they're doing right now in DC, they're doing this. And I actually think it's a good business to get into. They're having coffee shops, right? So you have a coffee shop. Maybe you do like an open mic at the coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
So they're allowed to smoke in there, because it's just a coffee shop, you can allow people to smoke. They disguise it under there's all these laws that there's loopholes, right? So you can't sell weed, but you can give it away, and you can give away like if you are a weed company in DC, you can give away a certain amount of weed. When I say a certain amount of weed, what I mean is to an individual person. Like you can give someone like a dime bag,
right?
So like as a promotional thing, like, hey, it's a promotion, here you go. So what people do is they have events, and the events will charge a cover charge. And with that cover charge, you get a free gift. So there's coffee shops, there's coffee shops that will have like, you know, maybe it's ran by a local weed dispensary or something. And
Right.
you pay $10 to get in. But I think it's genius. Like, yo, could you imagine the money to be made where a coffee shop costs you nothing to open? You open a coffee shop, you have open mic comedy. Everybody, you let them smoke. It doesn't matter if you're getting money from it or not. And you sell fucking bagels and fucking cream cheese. You know, like you sell little pastries. You sell whatever.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
They'll be eating the fuck out of them. Make the bomb ass donuts.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers will be housing them.
Dude, I think that's a fucking business I want to get into. I also hope that they do recreational like bars and stuff where you allow weed, because honestly, when I was smoking all the time, though, that's the one thing I hated was, yeah, I mean, you could walk around the fucking street. But personally, I just think when you mention that guy walking down the street smoking weed or whatever, I think people that fucking go out by themselves and walk around and just smoke weed. I mean, I don't know. It's like I want to be either alone or I want to be in an environment where that's fun.
It comes along with that attitude, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do what I want. Like,
Yeah.
And that's where, like, it's like, look, man, like, can you just have, like, look, it didn't really bother me. I don't really care. But I do think it's what, like, for me, if that was the case, I don't walk down the street drinking a beer.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
like, just.
Well, also but what you're saying though, too, see where the situation is different is if they never denounced weed as decriminalized or, you know, decriminalized weed here or whatever, like that is illegal. Like sometimes I look at people and I'm like, yo, you're doing something very illegal. And so I guess even when I was going back to those people driving around in a car, when we were young, weed was illegal.
Yeah.
Like weed was a drug. I'd be afraid to have a beer unopened in my car just because I was underage, let's say. But I used to know people that drove around, smoked weed all the time, and just would put it out and fucking talk to a cop. And the whole thing was sometimes they might have got their balls busted, sometimes not. The amount of like working people that I've known down here for years, like people that weren't kids driving around. I'm talking about like a 25-year-old girl just driving to and from work. Dude, they keep their fucking weed right in their fucking little dashboard or their little console, and they fucking fire that shit up like they could give two fucks driving around. And that still scares the shit out of me because it's here's the other part. It's decriminalized. But again, that's one of those discretionary things too. Like even just a ticket, I don't want that. So I know I'm getting the fucking ticket. Like I know I'm the guy getting the fucking ticket.
Yeah, look at that pretty ass boy with that long ass hair.
Well, that's the thing. At first, they want to pull me over because they're like, "Yo, let's pull over that hot fat blonde with that beard." And then they pull me over, and I'm like, "Anything I could do to get off, officer?"
I mean, my stance on it is like just legalize it, just nationwide.
Yeah,
get rid of it already because it's not legal around here.
You know what?
I think it's stupid. Like there's people in prison right now for dumb shit pertaining to weed, and like I understand that some people might be reluctant because I guess especially a lot of old school people that think it's a gateway drug and leading harder stuff, which that's especially when it comes to the older
dude, that's
generation.
a lie. I'm going to tell you something right now. That's a fucking lie because I'm going to tell you something right now. Weed and beer weren't the only things I've ever done in my life. And when you get fucking drunk, you're more like there ain't a drug addict in the world that if you're a heroin addict, which I never was, that's not what I'm saying. But if you were a heroin addict and you see a heroin addict get out of jail and he's like, I'm just going to the bar. That's going to end badly because beer definitely fucking whatever. Weed is not a gateway drug. It's not like that whole fucking, I agree. My stance on the legalization of marijuana was exactly everything you just said until I figured one thing out. And my girlfriend right now wants to go get her card. And I said to her, you got to be careful because dude, they even politicize that. Do you know what happens when someone told me this? A buddy of mine, a very interesting fellow down here in Baltimore was like, dude, I'm going to get legalized, whatever. So I saw him like a week later. I was like, dude, did you do it or whatever? And he's like, nah, fuck that. He's like, basically when you go and even though you can just walk into a doctor's office and just say, I got anxiety, right? What the Democrats put in that law, if you get the card for marijuana, you're not allowed to have a gun. You're not allowed to carry a weapon ever. Like you give up your gun right. Because because basically, and the other thing that scares me is you give up a lot of rights because you're an emotionally distraught person now, right?
Yeah.
So what they did is, if you get a marijuana, even though you, like, in other words, you don't get a big psychic evaluation. You walk in and you can say, like, I feel nauseous, I get anxiety, I get whatever, and they just go, okay, boom. But the minute you fucking do it, you forfeit all your rights, carrying to, you know, to your gun rights or whatever. But also, you could be in court and trying to defend yourself, and now you're labeled as like an emotionally unstable human being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I was like, nah, fuck that shit. I don't own a gun, but maybe I want to. I don't want to be listed as a guy who can't and is emotionally unstable, because I want to go and get I'll just the weed's still available. It's decriminalized and available. So
As a responsible gun owner, I highly recommend that you exercise your Second Amendment right.
but isn't that fucked up that they would take your right away from you? Like in other words, like, think about this. It's like, I don't fucking know that. Nobody really knows that. And
Right.
you, like, that dude bailed out like last minute. You know what I mean? Like, that dude was like, fuck this shit. You know how many people probably have their medical card but don't realize that they gave up their right to that?
Well, a lot of people probably aren't even aware.
That's what I mean. And so what I'm saying is that was put in the bill. Like, if you think about it, right? If you legalize marijuana, everybody in the country wants it. Everybody smokes it. My mom smoked it. Your mom smoked it. Everybody's fucking aunt and uncle smokes it. So you got a lot of people who would be prone to fucking just go fucking get a medical card.
Well, yeah, and my argument with that guy, I was like, listen, I think if weed was legal right now, we probably have less issues, because I think people that drink are more prone to violence, in my opinion, than people that smoke weed.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, I don't really have the data to back that up, but I think also, when this goes back into an American thing, dude, our culture is violent.
Yeah.
As in comparison to, you know, other countries. I think I might even have talked about this. I forget if it was in one of the podcasts, but I mentioned that I had a friend in Germany who, they have thousands of people jammed in a spot during Oktoberfest, drinking, having a good time. And she was like, there's like no fights. There's like no incidences, like that. Nothing. There's nothing going on.
Well, dude, here's the thought.
You jam pack 100 people into Barnaby's on McDade Boulevard. There's gonna be a bunch of fucking tools. But like, what, motherfucker? You stepped on my shoes? What? With American culture, people always love to point the finger at cops and better training. And I know I keep talking about this, but I think it's really important for us to look in the mirror and really recognize that we have a culture issue.
Yeah.
It's not just a black culture. It's white people as well. Like, now there may be some differences, but overall, like, we have a strong entitlement issue that we just think we can do. And actually, there was a Republican congressman that talked about that in that when the COVID thing was going on, and how it was difficult to tell Americans, because you had parts of like Florida that were still
when all the young kids were down on the beach.
And he even mentioned, he was like, listen, part of the problem is in America, you tell people to go inside, they're not going to be happy about that.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Germany, if you're like, hey, this is for the best, you know, everyone's best interest, stay inside, most of them are going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when they talk about like with Australia, when they were like, you know, hey, we had a mass shooting, let's like take away the guns. And people are like, okay. But America, people were like, no, motherfucker, you ain't taking our guns. Now, and I can understand why. I get it. Americans in general, overall, white, black, whatever, we have a very strong entitlement. Like, no, motherfucker, I do whatever the fuck I want to do. Like, even it's weird because like there's even still Republicans, even conservatives, that are like, listen, guys, let's be smart and wear masks. And there's still people that are like, I ain't wearing a fucking mask.
Yeah.
It's part of my fucking, it's violating my rights. And to an extent, I understand what they're saying, because if the government can do that to you, then what's the next step?
Yeah.
So like, I get it, but I also understand the value in like just trying to keep people safe.
Yeah.
There was a celebrity, that complete anti-Trump guy, which is fine, posted a picture of Trump with a mask on and mentioned his rally and was saying something along the lines of like, he really doesn't give a shit that you're going to get sick. And I commented on it because I'm like, this is what the fuck I'm talking about.
I hate when like somebody
like, I'm like,
you can't not kind of get like, fuck, I don't even like doing this shit, but
like, I'm like, listen, dude, I get you're not a Trump guy, and that's fine. You don't have to be a Trump guy. For whatever reason, there's a million reasons why I understand why people don't like Trump. Yeah. I get it. You can't be saying, fight the power, get out, go out on the streets, protest, and then criticize Trump and his supporters for being at a rally. Like, but wait,
there was also, here's something that nobody talks about.
But he deleted the post. I'm not saying
nice.
I'm not saying he deleted because of me, because there was a shit ton of people that gave him backlash, and rightfully so.
But just to add on to that, and then to go back onto something else, the thing that I thought was funny is nobody talked about that. Like there was 6,000 people at Trump's rally. Well, there was like fucking 10,000 fucking Black Lives Matter protesters outside trying to stop people from getting in. I'm not saying that's why there was 6,000. What I'm trying to say is then there was a total of 16,000 people on both sides, totally, fucking disregarding all COVID-19, rules or whatever. But also going back, when you said the thing about like Americans' mentality and stuff, when I went to China, okay, I don't want to live in China. Nobody take this the wrong way. But when I was there was something different, and I didn't know what it was, dude. And I was just like, well, there was a lot of stuff different, but I was just walking around China thinking, why does this feel great? What is going on here? And one night, my sister begged me to go to this nightclub, and I didn't want to go to nightclubs and shit because at the time, I wasn't even having a drink at all. I went in there and I had one beer with her because we were in China.
Right.
Well, it was this really, really weird experience because basically we got brought in there because we were American. You want to talk about white privilege? I experienced it that day. They literally like looked at my dude. I was wearing jogging. I looked like a mess. And my sister was like, it doesn't matter. I just want you to go in here and look. Dude, it was this crazy, like in the parking lot, I think we counted, there was like $4 million worth of cars because they just had like a 5 little like car valet. And the 5 cars that were there were like ridiculous cars. And when I went in, it was lines of like overdressed to the nines, like money people, like a line, like imagine, I don't know if you go to nightclubs anymore, but just imagine like when you were a kid and you'd be waiting in that long ass line to get in like Club Egypt or something, it was like, no, but you know what I mean? Like, and it was a long,
Delaware was popping.
Yeah. Right. So the promo, the guy at the front, my sister goes up and goes, do you mind if he comes in here like this? I just want to show him the nightclub. And the guy's like, the guy was like fucking Norwegian or something. And he looked at my sister, and she's a good looking blonde girl, and he's like, has anyone told you to come here tonight? And my sister started getting mad at the guy. She's like, what? And he's like, has anyone invited you into the club? And she's like, what are you talking about? And he basically started saying like, I would like to invite you into the club. And my sister's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We just want to go in for a second. And I was like, Sam, the guy's a promoter, and for some reason he wants us in the club. So the guy was like, would you guys like to go in? Tom, I fucking shit you not, dude. We had been in like Beijing for 2 days. I was wearing like fucking jogging pants, a t-shirt, and this guy was like treating me like I was a king. I can't explain it. And what I copped onto later, because this is the experience, he looks at my sister and he's like, I looked at my sister, I said, just let this man fucking do whatever he wants to do with us. That's fine. So he looks over and he takes us through a barrier and he walks us all through the back places of this place. And we're walking past lines and lines and lines of people. And then we get to the part where like you got to pay to go in. And he looks at another guy and he pulls like the red velvet rope off and he goes, "These people are my guests. They drink for free. Take them to the VIP." I'm like, what the fuck is going on? We go into this bar and it's like a stadium. Okay. On the outer rings of the stadium is like a bar that goes completely in a circle. And it's just filled with just Asian people out for the night. We go down to the next level. It's all table service, bottle service. They bring us into the middle level, which was right in the middle. Like you were basically on stage. And dude, it looked like it was all American models. I can't explain. It was all American people, right? So what I realized later was these guys must get credit. Like it must be like a good thing, like to have Americans in your club. But the whole reason I'm saying this story is fucking 5 seconds down there, I looked at my sister. I said, I got to get the fuck out of here. Well, because all of a sudden it was 50 people in this small VIP, and I had been in China for a week, and I hadn't experienced like dudes leaning over my shoulder. You know that when you're in a club, you get that fucking extra nudge and all that.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And I'm sitting here and I'm looking around and I'm like, I fucking hate these people. I hate these fucking people. And I realized that what was making me feel a little different while I was in China was it was calm. It was fucking relaxed. You didn't have all the stupid, like, dude, there wasn't crime. I don't know. I mean, it's a communist country, so people probably get their fucking hands chopped off for doing things. So I'm not agreeing with it. But what I will tell you is that experience at that fucking nightclub, I wanted to blow my brains out. It was insane. And I realized right there, I can't stand that fucking pack me in a bar, nudge me in the back. Everybody's fucking yelling. Everybody's trying to, it's one thing if they're just trying to get a drink or whatever, but it's not. It's just like this chaotic scene of shit I want nothing to do with, you know?
But so it's weird how like I shouldn't say weird. I don't really have anything to compare to America too, because I've never traveled outside of America.
And that was my only time going that far out, and going to China was a different kind of thing.
Well, you've gone to Ireland as well, right?
Yeah, but it's the same shit. It's even worse. Like when I say even, well, I mean, they're a different kind of people and they're nice people. Don't get me wrong. But what I mean is, it's the same atmosphere. You go to a fucking nightclub. People want to fight. People want to do all this dumb shit. It's like.
It's great. The HOA has.
Well, no, I'm saying.
These drugs aren't waterproof.
I'm saying in that culturally, how can you compare China to Ireland to America? Because I had friends who went and traveled, and they went to Paris and Italy and all these things, and their opinions are, obviously there's some things about their country that they get right. That
well, my sister pointed this out to me. My sister was there working, so she was working for 2 months. Okay. I'm going to tell you something right now. The one thing that was definite, the whole reason why I went there was because I wanted to go somewhere where all my life I've been able to just like drop me off in Ireland and I'll figure it out, drop me off in Mexico and I'll figure it out. Dude, what I realized was like, say you go to Mexico and nobody speaks English. People still understand, like you can point at some shit and be like, I want to go there. I want to, grab your crotch and say, I got to go to the bathroom. And they'll say, oh yeah, right over here. In China, there's no fucking Americans. And believe it or not, we think that, how you have that thought of like everybody in China probably speaks English and stuff. Children speak English. Okay.
In China.
Yeah. Like children. Like, so in other words, like my translate, like if I was like lost, you would be trying to explain yourself. And then someone would hand you like a 12-year-old would stand in front of you and say like, hello, how can I help you? And then you think, oh, great. And then you realize their English doesn't go as far as, just asking a few questions. My fucking idiot English brain would assume you can go anywhere you want, anywhere. There's going to have, I went to the Great Wall. They didn't have an English, getting a ticket to get up there was insane. Like my sister luckily spoke some of the stuff, but if she wasn't there for 2 months and I was there to leading her around, we'd be dead. The thing that I thought was funny, what you're saying, compare the two. What I felt in China was like, first off, helpless at all times, fucking helpless. Like you can't get a soda on your own. the reason why I said my sister was there for 2 months was because she had lived with these people, right? So one experience that she had that was scary was just imagine like if there was going to be a major storm here, you'd go to the store and you'd overhear somebody saying, yeah, I got to grab an umbrella before the storm. And you figure shit out in your world. Like, my sister barely spoke the language and was working and living like in people's houses and stuff. And one day they requested that she stay somewhere else, and she didn't know what was going on. She thought she was like getting fucking like in trouble. Here there was like I think it's typhoon or something like that. It's basically a hurricane, but it has a different name in China. Monsoon, I don't know. But the bottom line is, imagine like a fucking major disaster is about to happen, and you don't find out about it till it's there because you just can't pick up on it in your everyday walking around or whatever. And everyone just assumes you know. Well, moving forward from there, one thing that stands out in my head so much is that my sister made it a point to constantly talk to people about the Holocaust, okay? Because they don't believe it. They don't believe it. They're not allowed to believe it. You can't just get on the internet. I got on Facebook twice while I was there, and then they deactivated it for like illegal use. You're not allowed to use like the World Wide Web. So basically my sister like made it a point to show me, I guess, that like we'd get on a train and she would start talking to someone who spoke English pretty well or something. She would literally just say like at one point, like, what do you think about the Holocaust? It was so weird. She would just say that. And at first I'm thinking my sister's fucking crazy. But then I'm realizing, you know, there's more to it, because one conversation she got into, the girl said, well, people believe things. And I'm like, man, like for like,
so it's like you're Alex Jones over in China.
Well, exactly. This is kind of, I guess, I mean, I might've went, you know, kind of down the long road to nowhere with that. But that's what I'm saying. Like in China, there's probably Alex Jones. Like the whole thing is the world needs these Alex Joneses because they're throwing information. Like in other words, if you fucking sit back and rely on your government, then you'll be sitting in China going, there's no Holocaust. I believe there was a Holocaust. I don't know.
In terms of diversity, what did you see in China?
No diversity. Chinese people everywhere, and what they call Americans is big noses. I thought that I would get off the plane and see American travelers, or see like an American, like a travel company maybe ran by an American or whatever. When I was in China, there was none whatsoever. It's so hard to explain. And there were some times where me and my sister even felt like shit was set up, because we went to a motel. It was like the Holiday Inn, but like spelled wrong, but it was set up like a Holiday Inn. And when we walked in there, the people got up, and this is what I mean where it was confusing. We went up to fucking get a room. The person at the counter, like it was like their first day. But when we walked in and said, hey, we want to just get a room, it was like the guy was sitting behind the counter, like on his phone. And then it'd be one thing if he just couldn't understand the language, but he had a look on his face like, oh, fuck, what am I supposed to do? And then we're like trying to get a room. And then he looks at the other girl, and then they understood our English. And then they had a conversation with each other, and they like both left. We're like waiting out there, like, what the fuck's going on? Then they come back. Then another person came out and like spoke better English, and we explained that we wanted a room, and they're like, okay. And then like, they're looking at each other like, what the fuck do we do? Like, I can't explain it. But so what I saw when I was there was China's so big that China's tourism is China. So when we went to the Great Wall, there was a bazillion people there, but they were all Asian. But what you have to remember is, you know, it would be like me and you being in Alaska. It's like China's so big and has so many things to offer that like, and there's so many people that there's constant tourism in China, but it's actually within China. And then every once in a while you saw some Indian guys. You'd have to go there to really understand it. Whatever, somebody could easily listen to this and say, would you thought it was going to be all Americans? No, dude. But I got news for you. There's no Americans. There's nobody. It's not what you think. It ain't like you go over there, and people weren't messing with me either. It wasn't like everybody could speak English and they thought it was funny. I'm talking about when I went to the Great Wall, I was the only fucking white person there. I was the only person that wasn't Asian that was there, me and my sister. And all they want to do is take pictures of you. That's all they want to do.
You're a fucking rock star. They probably thought you were Thor.
No, they thought I was Chris Farley. They were like, "Oh
Really?
my God!" No, but
gonna
dude,
say,
I don't
you
know
know.
what they thought. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have a clue what they were thinking. And one time I came out of like the most disgusting fucking public toilet I've ever been to in my life. When you had to squat. It's like a hole in the ground. I'm fucking squatting, and then right when I'm done,
I don't want to bring up stereotypes because this is America and everybody's going to be hypersensitive. Were you taller than everybody?
yeah. Well, but it was but it wasn't. There was a lot more. It wasn't the stereotype that you would fucking think. But I actually also think like it would have been different if I was 20. Like watching how they treated my sister because she was like 20. I mean, she was a superstar, and I was just the American guy that they wanted a picture with, but they weren't sure why. Like they knew why they wanted a picture with her, because whether she was a celebrity or not, she was a beautiful blonde girl. But for me, it was like, I guess we'll get a picture with him too. Dude, I'm not kidding. I stood outside fucking, it's the largest place. It's a famous protest where the one guy stands up and the tank just runs over him in the 60s. But anyway, it's Talming Square or something like that. I'm saying it so wrong. But either way, I'm standing out front. Dude, it was like you were famous, because what would happen is you would see these people like poised to ask you something. And then finally you'd look them in the eye and you'd go like, hey, and they'd go, "Can I have a picture with you?" He's, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure." And you're nobody. And when that dude starts taking a picture with you, all of a sudden there's a crowd behind you and selfie sticks sticking out in front of your face. And I'm like, dude, well, I enjoyed it really, but I'll tell you what.
I feel like selfie sticks is a little bit of a stereotype.
Well, no, dude, hey, I got news for you. Every fucking stereotype you could think of was fucking true. Dude, and here's the worst part. I just happened to be there during the first day that Disney World Shanghai opened up. And so we went. And again, I saw one, and this is what I mean about when I say, imagine you go to Disney World, no one speaks English, and there was one white family that we passed by probably 3 times the whole time we were there. You literally, like, whether it's just eye contact or a small conversation, it's like everybody, if you're on a train and you see a white person, you guys just start talking. And what you both start talking about is like, holy shit, what is going on here? This is crazy. Like this is what I mean. Like that's how much people didn't speak English there. Because when you saw someone who did, you went right to them. And other than that, I mean, don't get me wrong though, everybody was nice and shit, but dude, there was just shit.
That was the thing I wanted to say. So like, were people super friendly?
Yes and no. I think that I have a different respect for Chinese people if they're going there, because things that we find disrespectful that they do, like in other words, stereotypes that they do, like they'll shove behind you in line, they drive fucking slow, whatever people say about them and shit like that. The first time I went there, I got on a train and my sister kept warning me, like, you're going to get fucking pushed around. And dude, when I say pushed around, I mean a hand will grab you, throw you, and you don't even really know who did it. And at first you start taking it personal, like, what the fuck? Get your fucking hands off me. Seriously. Like you start wanting to like fight somebody. But what I started realizing is like, they're a society that is constantly trying to fucking take up space. Like there's no room.
Right.
So when you get on a train, it's like, I would look back at somebody that shoved me and they would just give me a look and like a smile and like a wave.
Yeah.
And what I started realizing is just like everyone's always just shuffling people around to get the most room possible. When you're doing stuff like getting on a train, going on an elevator, dude, the policy of getting on an elevator, you let people out. The very first time I got an elevator there, I waited 3 times because a full elevator would open. People were shoving in while people were coming out. And my sister looked at me like I was telling her, like, I'm the big brother. I'm like, Sam, you're being rude. It turned out that I was completely wrong, because by the 4th elevator, I realized if I don't just jump on this thing, I ain't going anywhere. They just have a different concept, because the way that they do it there is it's old people first. It's women next. They literally have to teach you. You read these like things. It's pictures of the certain kind of people that should get on the train first, but they're having a problem right now because they're trying to teach old people that you have to like wait for people to get off the elevator. But the problem is Chinese policy is if you're old, you're first. So think about any problem you might have come across here where you might be a stereotypical situation. It's like if you're old, you're first. So when I'm in America and I see some old lady that I don't really understand kind of shoving around, and you're looking over like, is that lady butting in front of the line? I think she's rude.
Yeah.
In China, if you're old, you get off the elevator first. But the old lady that's trying to get on the elevator sees the world as, I'm old and all these people have to, I'm first, you know? So
Correct.
there's no policy of like, it's weird. Listen, I mean, I may not have explained it properly, but they're actually having issues with the old way, the ancient thought of like the elders and who's it more, whatever. And there's like a kind of like a fight going on just in those little social interactions of like, you know, who sits first and who whatever. But what I thought was fun, by about 3-4 days in, man, it was like getting on the elevator was fun. Getting on the train was fun because it was like playing football. Like the doors open up and it's like, go, just shove. I started to do things like expecting a fight, you know, like you get mad and you're like, fuck it, I'm getting on this elevator. And when you push in and get in the elevator, you think everyone's going to look at you like you're an asshole, and you look up and people are smiling at you like, yeah, you're learning how this works.
Well, and I ask you about that because in contrast to America, when you have every single nationality, race, every single thing going on here, trans, white, black, gay, Christian, Muslim, they're fighting amongst young and old.
Yeah.
That's it. And then here we have all of these different branches. They want their rights. Everybody's fighting for their own rights. And I'm thinking, just in that little description, as easy as it must be over there, and as complicated as it must be over here, for the most part, I think, despite what the media says, it's hard to argue that we're not doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying? Because other countries
don't deal with that shit.
They don't have to deal with the same issues that we have here.
Well,
and they don't have the same freedoms as we do.
But you're bringing up a thought I had, right? So when I was there, what I realized, you have to take care of the old people. It's almost like welfare's done within, like, the way that they grow up is like you're supposed to take care of your grandmother at some, like, the family always takes care of the elder. Also, at the same time, if there's anybody with a handicap or, you know, whatever, like somebody's got one leg or whatever, it's like these people of society that people have to take care of. And this isn't me saying that like this is why I don't want to help somebody or something, but I'm saying just to look at it a bit from a different angle. It's probably a lot easier to have no problem with like funding something, knowing that they're taking this much money out of your check or whatever, when you're looking over and everyone is reflective of you. You can see your grandmother in that lady. So if everybody's Asian and there's they make an announcement on the news that like, okay, well, we're going to start, building a park to help some elderly people or whatever, you identify directly with those people. And I'm not saying that makes it, I'm not saying that this is why I can't get behind it. What I'm trying to say is imagine an America without race or without whatever. It's like, the poor people, there wouldn't be anybody saying, well, they're this or they're that or they're this and that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there would still be a problem, but it must be a little bit easier when you identify directly with the people.
Throughout history, no matter how far back you go, when I look at and I see, for an example, remember The Passion of the Christ, the movie The Passion of the Christ?
Yeah. It was about that guy that died.
Yeah, that guy, that thing that sometimes people pray to, and no offense to Christians. That was. Some people might get that joke. Some people might not. But anyway, now there was a lot of Jewish people that were upset because they were depicted in a way in that movie because people were upset because their label was like they killed Jesus.
Yeah.
Jewish people. Now I watched that and I was so disappointed in humanity. I didn't look at those people as Jewish. I looked at those people, that could easily be me. At that time period, when you buy into group think and tribalism and all these things, I could have easily been on the wrong side of history.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And the expectations that are being placed upon everyone nowadays, it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like, when you go through history, and this is the issue, when you start to bring up history, of course, because everybody in America is so entitled, they just want to throw out like, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happened before. It's what we did. And then I'm like, well, wait, but you're saying we did this before, so it does matter.
Yeah.
So when we look back throughout all of history, you can't just say white people are so evil because there was slavery, because it's happened all throughout history.
Yeah.
Now, by no means is that justifying what happened in America. But the people that lived here prior to us, Indians, they had tribes, and they didn't get along. There were tribes all over the country that were at war with each other.
Yeah.
It wasn't this peaceful place. There were peaceful tribes, but they weren't all peaceful with one another.
And I mean, I don't think that there's probably a whole other thing behind this too, but then because, they had to pick a side, I guess. But then like in the French and Indian War or whatever, it's like there were times where one side, like I believe even in the Civil War, if I'm not mistaken, they would take a tribe that was an enemy of another tribe, and they would fight with each other. But what we did to them is horrible too. But
it is. But when you put it in a perspective of a broad perspective of the world and how humanity acts throughout history, that's not saying that what we did was not wrong, but you have a better understanding of how we could get to that place.
Yeah.
Because to this day, there are 8 to 13 million slaves in the world right now. And their slavery has been throughout different cultures, throughout time. That's where I think, and that's why it gets so complicated here, because everybody's fighting for their piece. And everybody's like, I want the attention needs to be on me. And then somebody else is saying, well, now it's not being directed at me. And it becomes really complicated. And the fact that we are so diverse, and the fact that diversity, it's amazing. It's amazing that we can go through different areas and learn different cultures. And I know the big thing is cultural appropriation. To me, I don't buy into that. Like, I think if you're willing to take somebody else's culture and use it, it's kind of like a form. That's like a form of flattery.
Well, going back to what you said, even about like the Jews and the Passion of Christ. All right, I'm assuming we've pissed everyone off at this point. So
listen, we can get on and say, "How was your day?"
Yeah, and somebody's gonna get mad.
Off. So,
but so going back to what you said, here's the thing. You're right. In like somebody saw that as like, how dare they say that about us or me or whatever. I see it like you see it. Like, I don't see like, Jews are really bad. No, I see it like shit was fucked up at that time. And, people were doing things that, based on what they knew at the time, based on what was going on in society, based on what they had to do. For example, if you showed me horrible shit that happened to people in the 1800s, even stuff that our own government did, even if it was to white or to black or to Chinese or the Irish or whoever, I think in my head, God, the whole fucking society was fucked up at that time. But I also like disconnected from now. I see it. I understand what happened. I'm not justifying it, but I don't see it as like, oh, now I learned something about these people and now I need to take action or whatever else. You learn what could have happened, what could happen, what does happen, what has happened. But at the same time, and that goes again into like the Alex Jones thing. It's like, I know that shit can happen. So why am I believing right now that there's, like, in other words, why am I believing that a group of people of any kind, I'm supposed to just listen to whatever they say, whether it be the news or a group or the protesters or right wingers or whoever? The thing that people don't understand is they're trying to get these people that you're listening to are people that are in positions of power, and they're trying to sway us. And I think what we forget, they don't care about us. They care about their message or whatever. And not one of them groups are 100% in the right. And if you don't think for a second that they're telling you what they want you to know because it's part of their fucking agenda, you're insane. Going back to even China, telling people that, you know, the fucking Holocaust never happened. And then you got to think that means that there's people that live here that are from China that still don't really agree with the Holocaust. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. The whole thing, it's a really slippery slope, and especially in with us, because everyone is super sensitive. There's not a whole lot of room for conversation because you're either going to agree with me or you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're sexist, whatever the case may be.
But see, I think all of those words are just created to keep those two people apart. Like nobody's trying to convince anybody that one person is actually another for any other reason than to keep those two people apart. And the thing that's really a shame, and I don't think it'll ever happen, is that no, it would never be perfect. But if the people just realized we got a lot more in common with each other than we do with the people telling us their message, it could be a whole different world. I'm not saying that as like that's my message. I'm saying it like that's 100% true, and I don't believe it would ever happen.
Well, I actually tried to send you a video that I found. It was Black Lives Matter that showed up to a Trump protest. The video jumps around a little bit. So essentially these Black Lives Matter group wind up on stage at this Trump rally. The guy that has the microphone, and I guess he's the MC of the whole thing, he's like, listen, I'm sure you probably didn't expect this, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak.
I think I saw this. This is old, right?
I don't know. I just saw it recently, but he's like, because I believe in your right to speak, which has to hit home because not everybody believes that. So he gives him the microphone, and this black guy starts talking about why Black Lives Matter and the purpose of their movement. And he's like, listen, I'm an American. And the crowd goes crazy. And basically throughout his speech, there was a few times and there was a few people that were like, all lives matter. He mentioned somebody, and this one woman was like, he was a criminal. And this is why I think it may be new, because I think he said George Floyd's name. And that's why it made me mad, because when she was like, he's a criminal, I'm like,
yeah, like
I was like, oh, okay, well, like he's not like it doesn't matter even if he was a criminal. Like what happened was not
like
right.
that could be a topic for debate, but it's not. It has nothing to do with what
it's irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
So then, somebody was like, all lives matter, and the black guy was like, yes, all lives do matter. However, like we want to be included in that, and that's why we have to have this protest.
Yeah.
So during this time, this guy is saying things that I can agree with, that I'm like, dude, I get what you're saying. And the crowd was as well, because you would think it would be the complete opposite. But this guy was literally like the crowd was cheering this guy on at certain points.
But this is what drives me nuts, though. I really 100% believe that the people that support it, right? I'm not talking about what Donald Trump believes personally. I'm not talking about what Candace Owen believes personally. I'm not talking about what Anderson Cooper believes purposely, what Don Lemon or Nancy Pelosi believe personally. But the people that choose the side of Don Lemon or fucking Tucker Carlson or whatever, what I think is so funny is that if you took that away and those two people had a conversation, they want the same thing. They want the same exact thing.
Absolutely. And as this, so then it, he got done and he's walking off stage and he's like saying these things and he's like, listen, I thought we were going to come here and it was just going to be me screaming my point, them screaming their point, hurling insults at one another. And now look at it. Like now there was like the leader of like bikers for Trump. And he's like, I'm having a conversation with this guy. And
I can only imagine what that guy looks like.
Yeah, I have no idea. But like, he's like, and now I'm having a conversation with this guy. and we're talking and we're agreeing on things. And then he's like, and then here I am taking pictures with this little baby that's blonde hair, blue eyes, with people that I didn't think this was going to happen.
But that's
watching that video got me overly emotional because I have an issue with group thinking, and I have an issue with movements based off of the fact that it scares me when a large amount of people start saying the same thing. That's why I encourage you to watch the movie The Mist, because you can see how dangerous things can get.
Yeah.
When people start to get afraid and fear is involved and uncertainty. So then you see how like we can judge other people, you know, when they killed the Marine, for instance. Sorry if you're listening, you haven't watched this movie, no spoilers, whatever, sorry. But it's fucking old as shit. You should have saw it by now if you haven't. Stephen King's The Mist.
I believe there's like a 7-year, you know, you can give a spoiler after a certain amount of time.
But basically, you know, shit goes wrong. You know, people are stuck in this supermarket, all different kinds of people. And this one lady who's labeled crazy, after a while, they start to gravitate towards her. Once they start to gravitate towards her, she's basically preaching the word of God. There's a very small group of people that are like, what the fuck is going on here? The dynamics of us all.
But then it starts to split up into like 4 different groups of people, because it's the levels of like, there's like these help, like I felt like the people that got behind her were like the helpless people, like the people that were just, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to, they had nothing else to do but just to rely on, you know.
And they were looking for a leader.
Yeah.
They were looking for somebody to stand up and say, I know what's happening right now. I'm going to take charge. And this is what the deal is. And sometimes I understand why people gravitate towards that in certain situations. And you can see it throughout history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people have gravitated towards the wrong people because of, you know, poverty, depression, whatever the case may be. Because she says this guy is the enemy now in this Marine, and they fucking murder him in cold blood, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
But everybody accepts it.
But yes, and people accept it, and it's the complete breakdown of rational thinking.
Yeah.
And that other group that isn't buying into it is like, what the fuck is going on right
now? Well, here's
this is not okay.
Here's a gross thought too. And this is the part of it that grosses me out, is that there are people out there that go, oh, here goes a group of people that we're going to go speak to. And here's how we can get them on our side. And like, that's kind of what like when you're saying like that group think pisses you off, what pisses me off is that there is a conversation going on very high up, and sometimes low, like maybe in local politics or whatever. There's 3 guys sitting in a room that they're not trying to figure out, they're not moving forward with what they know they need to do to help a group of people. They need those group of people to get behind them, you know, just to use the basic example, like for a vote. And so they go into these communities with like a complete fucking formulated plan on here's the right things we'll say. I mean, it's even like when they name a bill, like they'll pass a bill, and like recently the Democrats did it where they knew the bill was going to be denied. And inside that bill was all kinds of crazy things, but they named the bill like, you know, the Patriot Act, or the, you know, the women, you know, whatever they named the bill, it was something where when they got, like, all they did it for was a talking point. They knew it was going to be denied. The bill had nothing to do with the title, but then they get to walk around saying, you know, we tried to pass the, you know, free healthcare Patriot Act for everybody, and it was denied, you know? And I guess what I'm saying is that they sat in a room, they do focus groups on fucking naming bills. Like they literally do focus groups where what's the title of it is more likely to, and they'll have a group of people come in. If they're trying to get the black vote or whatever, they'll have black people come in and say, I don't like that name, or I don't, and then they do focus groups like you do for movies for a bill. That's disgusting. It's disgusting. You know?
Yeah.
And so I like my thing is I understand the group think, like I don't like it, but I understand it. The part where it gets dirty, like anyone involved in the group think is like they made that decision because they relied on somebody, or they didn't have enough courage, or they were afraid, and so they just that they were in a dire situation and they needed a leader, or but the thing that scares me is the leader that they end up going under literally like formulated a plan to exploit a group of people. Like in other words, even taking this fucking stupid thing back to like this, not that it's stupid, but this whole thing back to Rogan. It's like this. It's like Rogan isn't trying to get anybody behind him, isn't trying to formulate a base based upon like let me use my platform to instill fear so that I can get this group of people. No, he just has a platform and lets people come on, and he does what he does, and in that he amassed a large group of followers, and people like don't like that, and so they're trying to change him. You know what I mean? And so, but the thing is you're looking at a guy who's doing what he wants to do. He's not taking part in, he's not listening to groupthink. He's not sitting down and thinking, okay, who can I have on my show and how can I treat them so that I can like, amass this. No, he's having people on his show because he like wants to really hear what they have to say. And, if they cross major lines, I'm sure he'll fight back. But for the most part, he just lets people say their opinion and whatever. And what's starting to scare me is I don't want him to turn into that article. I don't want him to feel that he has a right. It's his, duty to attack Alex Jones and put him in his place and not make like, I want Alex Jones to say whatever the fuck he wants when he's up there so that I can have a better understanding of why he is like that. In your own life, you can look at someone. If you heard what they did, you might have a different opinion of them than if you knew them. So it's good to get to know people that you have an opinion of. I want to know that the guy who is against, women oppression or whatever, that I want to know that the leader of the hashtag Me Too movement had experienced, 7 situations in herself and had a horrible situation with men and sexual harassment or whatever. But if sometimes you find out some of these people maybe, have other things in their lives, and then you get to formulate that idea for yourself, by listening to learning of who these people are. And I think the real sad part is a lot of the people that we follow, we probably don't even know who the fuck they really are. Like, who is Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah,
who is Mike Pence? Like, what does he do? Does he do anything?
Regardless, I will say, I know this is probably going to, cause some backlash. I don't know a lot about Mike Pence. I know he's had some controversial opinions, but when it pertains to Hamilton and when he went to the play, this is one of those things where I disagree with some people because I think that situation could have been handled a little bit differently.
But you can't kick people out of a play or even kick them out.
The fact that he went to your show, he wants to learn, he wants to see the show. Like, he respects the show.
Well, you had an opportunity to voice, like, to me, that would have been more of an, not like they made a statement, but they had an opportunity.
To me, it was all about let's bash Pence and Trump in this moment while the spotlight's on us. Yeah. Whereas to me, he goes to your show to see this. So obviously he respects the show, the culture of that show. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't go, right? At least now I could be completely off base here. I wouldn't go to a show that I had no interest in seeing or learning about anything. So instead of taking the time, because the audience kind of booed him and all, like when they announced that he was there and they went on this thing to specifically pinpoint him and target him and say, hey, this is what's going on. I know that, I guess, whoever he was with, and they were like, you know, why are they booing you? I guess it was maybe his grandson or whoever. And he was like, that's the sound of freedom. That's their right.
That's what he said?
Which is, regardless how you think about that man, it's a perfect statement at that moment.
Well,
because again, it's their right. I don't agree with how, because that cast could have went to him and they knew he was going to be there, so they could have went to him afterward and said, hey, listen, we appreciate you coming to the show, and you know, we don't want to put you on blast in front of the audience and have people make comments and disrespect you, but this is why I don't agree with your stances on this.
Yeah.
You know, this is why I don't agree with your stances on that. That is such a much more respectful way. And
well, that's the only way that anybody's going to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
What Mike Pence remembers about that moment is that a group of people he disagrees with, he decided to go to a theater, and he thinks what's wrong in the country is this whole crazy group mentality of shouting stuff out. But he goes to this play and he experiences nothing other than a major statement and gets booed out of the place. And when he goes home, he's thinking, fuck those people. But they had an opportunity to say, basically, they could have came out at the end of the show and said, Mike Pence, we do appreciate you for coming here. But we do want you to know that you're looking at a group of people who disagree with a lot of whatever. And, you know, and then let's just say that they cheered that on instead of booed him off. That leaves him thinking, well, I got to change my thought if I want to win these people over or whatever. When you draw that kind of line in the sand, when that person leaves, they leave with nothing but like a chip on their shoulder, which another thing people forget too is that this stuff's more personal than people understand. You got people out there in high levels of government and business and whatever. They're carrying fucking chips on their shoulder on every side. And so the whole thing is, I know that if someone doesn't like me or someone doesn't agree with me and they walk into my bar and right when they get up to leave, I go, hey, by the way, nobody in here likes you and get the fuck out of here. And everybody stands up and cheers. I don't really know if I did any good. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather tell the guy, if you want to make a change, if you want to make a difference, if you just want to fucking, you know, the bottom line is it's like two guys getting into a fight, you know, it's like, you don't want them to get into a fight. You want them to talk it out. So you got to calm down all the aggression on both sides. And you got to say, hey, like in any situation you've ever been in before where two people disagree, you spend a lot of time trying to get them two guys to talk first before it's just F you, F this, you know what I mean? And
if you want to make a change, you show respect and you make a point. You know what I mean? Like you express your opinions but you also show that person that they're welcome. You show that person that they're welcome to the conversation. Especially if you feel excluded from this person, and here's the thing about Mike Pence, like I don't know the details, but I do know that when it comes to like his past, and I think he had some like very controversial things about the gay community and having I don't know exactly what the hell they
Mike Pence looks like a gay G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he kind of does.
An effeminate G.I. Joe.
But he I guess they go to like reforming camps, like in other words, to try and transform gay people to turn them straight.
That's weird.
Which, listen, man, that's not even a subject because like I don't even know where to fucking go.
But that goes back to another thing that pisses me off too, though, when you hear stuff like that, because like my thing is like, honestly, man, let everybody do whatever they want to do as long as they're not hurting other people. You know what I mean?
Yes. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I have no problem with that at all. And that's where, like, I can understand why maybe like people in the gay community in particular are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
But
I'm sure if I was gay, I would not like
I
that
would feel the
at
same.
all.
Exactly. I would feel the exact same way. I'd be like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
But
I would have had
I
to
would
act like
also-
I would have definitely had to say I didn't like that guy back when I was trying to get my friend laid.
yeah. And see, this comes back to the way I was raised was to always be respectful. And that was, that was one thing that people always said to my mother, like, you have a really respectful son, which, again, I wasn't the smartest guy in the room. I wasn't the best guy.
Coming out of the fucking confessional booth, looking at it. Your son Tommy is very respectful, Miss Carolee.
Yeah, but so that's what I mean. So like, it's my bottom line is, if we want to have real dialogue, if we want to really get somewhere, then we have to respect one another, and we have to have like respectful dialogue.
Well, the bottom line
goes back all throughout every policy, everything, whether it's Republican, Democrat, black, white, gay, straight, by just criticizing one another, that's not helping. Because I keep thinking of, did you ever see the movie Higher Learning?
I think I told you I get them all confused. There's like Michelle Pfeiffer movie. There's this one has Ice Cube in it, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, I saw this with Rappaport.
So it was directed by John Singleton, and I don't know, for anybody that didn't see it, came out in probably arguably one of the greatest eras of all time in the 90s.
Best.
And basically it followed the life of a white girl, a young black athlete, a young black woman, another young white guy. It was all basically, it followed the life of a bunch of different ethnicities that go to college and they're starting their college life. There are all these different situations that happen. Michael Rappaport's character, in particular, is kind of like the weird Kentucky guy that goes to this college, and he's kind of like doesn't really fit in anywhere he goes. He lives in a dorm, and Ice Cube and Busta Rhymes, they're, the hardcore, black guys, black power, this, that, and the other.
Could you imagine going to college in the 90s and you get there and your dorm buddies are Ice Cube and fucking Busta Rhymes?
No, I'd be like, is it like,
hey fellers, where am I sleeping tonight?
Yeah, because of course, it would just be a complete clash of worlds where, like, well, especially coming from this guy, like he's from down the sticks, whatever. They made fun of him like they're trying to fucking study, and Ice Cube and shit smoking fucking weed, playing fucking dominoes. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. Like, they're like, hey, guys, like, we got to study for exams tomorrow. And they're like fucking laughing at him, like, get the fuck out of here. So, again, it's complete disrespect. It's like there's no respect for the culture, the combination of the culture. He moves, they move out of that dorm. And then, of course, the black guys, then they get disrespected from the cops. They feel like they're being disrespected. The white guys move out of the room because they can't fucking.
Is this why you never finished at Delaware County Community?
Yeah, so they move out. Then he doesn't get accepted by the white frat boys that are like the party guys, drinking, having parties all night. Like, he says awkward shit, and they're like, get the fuck out of here. So he gets no respect there. Suddenly, of course, you gotta add in the element of the white supremacy. So then they take him under his wing because they're like, he's feeling vulnerable in the fact that he's not fitting in anywhere.
Yeah.
So then he joins his group because he can't fit in anywhere else. And then ultimately, all these different personalities clash. There's tragic events that take place. But going beyond this movie, there was, and forgive me because I can't remember this woman's name. She's an Indian woman that did a documentary on white supremacists. And she, basically interviews them, and she basically says, like, these are guys that don't feel wanted by society. Like they feel comfort in their groups because they're told, they feel, they see black people taking their jobs, they see Mexicans or immigrants taking their jobs, and they're losing jobs and they're feeling like there's no place for us.
Yeah.
So ultimately, in all these different scenarios that we see, when you feel like you're not wanted in a specific group, that's where the hate starts to breed.
Yeah. See, here's the thing though. I don't think it's like not just to kind of go back so that it doesn't sound like it can sound. It's what I think you were basically saying when you were saying about the guy going from group to group. It wasn't like he was going from group to group and nobody liked him. So whatever. It was more like he wasn't even given a chance. He was constantly pushed out without even like having a chance to be told maybe like, yo, man, you can't be so uptight, or, and then maybe finding a middle ground with somebody and then discovering himself. It was like, he just was being told constantly, like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants whatever you got to offer. We don't even hear it yet. We don't care. We don't want it. Get the fuck out of here. Am I right? You know what I mean? Like, in other words, I think it's one thing if somebody, decides to become part of the KKK because they just feel that they don't fit in. But if like, in other words, I don't think, like when you were saying like, because somebody's taking their jobs or whatever, like not in a case of like, oh, I hate Mexicans, they're taking my jobs. You're like, that comes after you're being told that shit. Like you have a bad experience with a group of people. You have another bad experience with a group of people. And then you find yourself with somebody spitting all that shit at you and you connect with them already. You know what I mean? Like if you're somebody who's just looking around and just coming up with that thought on your own, and then you join a group of people, well, you're a fucked up person. There are people out there who are just vulnerable. They're being shunned at and that doesn't mean the KKK. I mean, there's all kinds of groups like that. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely. I'm not just targeting white people, like, because there are black people that.
Well, I know how much you hate white people, Tom.
That hate white people regardless of what we do. They're gonna hate us. There are white people that are gonna hate black people. That goes all over. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not just saying white and black. I'm saying all over, across the board. That feeling of not being accepted, that is where the hate starts to breed.
Yeah.
And that is where the disconnect between a lot of us and the dialogue, that's where it starts to break down.
But I guess that's what I'm saying. Like the thing that frustrates me in my life, I'm easily accepted. Like, you know,
I don't believe that.
No, what I mean
I don't
is
believe
like,
that at all.
What I mean is like, if I'm just like shooting the shit or whatever, or joking around with people, like it ain't like people, don't agree with me or whatever. There are certain topics where if you just bring them to the table, all of a sudden you find yourself being excluded from the group. The thing is that's fucking frustrating, dude. That's frustrating to know, like, I'm a fucking good person. I just like, it's not about race. I'm talking about just anything in life. Like, I mean, it could be about your parking spot, or whatever. Yeah, I remember this with, as dumb as this sounds, this might be off topic, but I think it might not be so much. It was like Uber drivers. When Uber took over, I was so happy because I hated the way cab drivers were treating me. Okay. So when Uber took over, I loved it because cabs would be pulling up and dude, they fucked me over for years. They wouldn't take me unless I was going to the airport. Like my ride was always too short for them. And I live in Baltimore, man. I want a cab ride home. I don't care where I'm going. You're leaving me stranded out in the street at 3:00 in the morning. And I need to walk only about a mile, but I don't want to walk a mile at 4:00 in the morning in Baltimore. So then when Uber came along, I was so happy. And then what started to happen was I was so happy that I loved that all of a sudden cab drivers were outside like begging me, hey, you need a ride? And I'm like, nope, I'm waiting for an Uber. No, thank you. And one time I was standing on the corner with a friend of mine who's liberal, like very liberal. I shunned the cab driver the way I've been doing for a while. And the girl looked at me like I was a piece of shit. And I was like, what's wrong? What do you mean? And she goes, well, that's fucked up. Like as if now, like I was supporting Uber over the small business. So I was a piece of shit. And I was like shunning the guy off. And I'm like, well, fuck you, because you have no clue what I dealt with these people. It was like, that small little stupid fight was something where if I pushed too hard on it, I basically represented something that I didn't represent. That wasn't what this was about. That's the way it was seen by her. She wasn't going to hear my fucking side. So I have to make a decision. It's a really dumb thing to say, but this is one little increment in my life where it's like, I can't even say I support Uber in front of some people or I'm a dirtbag. I have a personal experience with cab drivers. I'm laughing now thinking like people are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But hey, if you think about it, it's a fucking I'm not talking about shit we can't control. I'm talking about when people start fucking judging who you are by what you're fucking riding home, whether it's Uber or a regular cab. And if you can't hold your ground and just get in the Uber without looking like a dirtbag, that's a problem. You ever have any problems with Uber?
I gotta side with the people here that are listening right now. Well, not right now, but eventually, and they're like, I don't know what he just said.
No, well, here's the thing. I'm going to go back on that for a second. If you take Uber or whatever, the bottom line is that Uber has become this giant company or whatever. But what I mean is at one time when they came about, they filled the need. They filled the need of like cab drivers never came on time. You know how many times you call a fucking cab and they say somebody will be out to you and they don't come out, whatever. And Uber solved that because Uber was like, we'll come right there. There's going to be no bullshit with the fare. We're going to so basically I'm taking rides in Baltimore and every day I'm in a regular cab. I'm fighting with a guy like, dude, I took this ride yesterday. It was $10. Now you tell me it's $25. Seriously. This happened a lot. Or they wouldn't even take me because I wasn't like, I'll walk out from my job and they're lined up for the hotel and they'll say, oh, you got to go to the guy in the front because nobody wants me because I'm only going a mile away. There was a reason why I took an Uber. And I never in a million years thought that I represented a group of people to another person as like a disgusting part of society because I chose Uber, and that's how people think. So it's like, if you're sitting in a conversation and you're trying to defend why you just use a fucking cab service, you might be separating yourself from a group. And so imagine how you might feel if people formulate an opinion of you because you ride Uber and that, like I said, that's one thing. There might be 15 things like that in a day for people that don't carry that. That girl doesn't even take fucking cabs, but she had an opinion of me, a guy who took cabs every day in the city for 15 years. She didn't want to hear why I made my decision. Again, I'm trying to talk about a very small topic, but think about it in a big way, and so if I bored you about my Uber story, well, that's life. But as dumb as that story may be to you, you got to think that was a fucking political issue to somebody else. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to say is like, if you're going home and you just experienced a fucking 10-minute conversation about how you're wrong for taking an Uber. And what happens is you start to fucking find yourself like, up against this mob mentality of all these little things that you have no clue you're doing. And that the reason like that, her groupthink isn't going to make me change my mind. But then what starts to happen is in order to stay in the group, you have to literally think about what you say next time you get in a conversation about Uber. And that's annoying. Like people have to accept that everybody has their own opinions and everybody has their own reasons. And, there may be compromises, but not all of them are based on what you're told that sums the person up as. Because I'm a pretty good fucking guy, Tom. But I like Uber.
And I like Uber. And I got to be honest with you. I've never used Lyft. And I barely use cabs anymore. So maybe I'm fucking biased. I really don't know. I don't know what the rules are anymore in America.
Yeah.
I'm totally fucking confused.
You can't fucking...
And I know that I just had 2 glasses of Glenlivet. And I just heard you fucking go off about
3 fingers of scotch.
Yes. Yes, it is scotch. And I feel like I need... Instead of album covers behind me, I need leather-bound books.
Dude, yes. No.
Yes,
Wait, what did you say? Wait, what did you say again? I read the books.
Yes, the books.
I don't read the books.
I'm going to have the books behind me next time instead of album covers.
Dude, we really got to start like spicing the backgrounds up. Or at least for me. You have a nice background. I've got a brick wall that is literally just a brick wall.
Yeah, but clearly I don't read the books.
Yeah, the books. She doesn't read the
So,
books.
you know, what are you gonna do? I mean, we broke it down to you in terms. We
Let
basically
everybody
broke-
know that we don't read the
basically
books.
just broke down the ills of society in terms of fucking Uber and cabs.
I said,
That's what we do.
I totally wish that we actually had fans or something because I would love
Yeah,
to just have
because-
them rip us apart.
That's what the fuck we do here.
We
We're
don't
not
read the
gonna-
books.
We're not gonna wow you with any fucking big words. We're not gonna wow you with any of the books.
But it was so great the way you dismissed it. You're like, listen, man, I don't read the books, all right? I don't read all them
I don't
books.
read them. I mean, I might read an article here or there. What are you gonna do? What do you want?
Yeah. But
You know,
books.
the books, they're out. They put the kibosh on the books a long time ago. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. But all right, well, I mean, what you call it? You want to call this one, Tommy? I mean, it's only
Well,
been
here's the
7
thing.
hours.
Here's the thing. My dog has been crying and because I'm not paying any.
Where
attention
do
to
you
her.
keep your dog right now?
Well, she's over in the little area over here.
But is she like kept from you, or is she just knows to stay over there?
No, like she keeps coming over. Like this dog is attached to my fucking hip.
That's cool, yeah.
And when we talk about, you know, manliness and we talk about Joe Rogan and how to be a man and all this, I have the girliest little fucking fluff ball dog in the world, which is perfect for me because
Do you carry your dog to like CVS and shit?
no, I'm not. It's not a Paris Hilton purse dog.
Oh, there's Tommy and his dog.
Yes, no, that's not it. But my dog is the shit. My dog's the shit. Like I said, it fucking follows. It's like my little shadow. It's basically, it's shit. Why am I drawing a blank here? From
What kind of dog it is?
Stories. No, Never Ending Story.
Oh yeah. Atreyu or whatever.
No, it's not a Treyu. The fucking the white dog that's flying across the fucking sky.
the greatest dog ever. I want that dog.
Yeah. That's basically my dog.
I love when the fucking dog rides over and the bullies start like running and jumping in dumpsters and shit, and he's like, yes.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's my dog. That's
what we should open up our show with is like the never-ending dog coming in. But
that would be great.
It.
We could Photoshop me and you flying on my dog. That would be fantastic. We might actually get a couple more fans off of that. I don't know.
Dude, you know what's so funny? Oh my God, dude. You know what's so weird? You mentioned that fucking story. I'm not kidding. A storm fucking came. I don't know if it's raining up there, but a storm came over like right before we started. I went to say it to my girlfriend, but I knew she would have no clue what the fuck I was talking about. But anytime there's a storm, I imagine myself reading the fucking book like up in the attic with the fucking, you know, remember how the kid fucking started in that movie? He's like in the attic and it's a storm. He's reading the book. Atreyu.
It's like so like who didn't want to be that kid as a kid? Like I remember in like 8th grade when it was like movie time. And it was like towards the end of the year when everybody was like, this is the shit. And they would roll in the cart with the fucking old TV on there and pop the cassette, the VHS in there.
When that TV rolled in, it was like, this is gonna be a good day.
It was like Ice Cube.
Yeah. Today was a good day.
You know what I'm saying? And then that's
my
like
teacher
Falcor.
rolled in with the RCA.
Yeah, like Falcor. We flew in on fucking Falcor.
You know what else I watched the other day, dude? For a minute. Do you remember this movie? Flight of the Navigator.
No.
Go watch it. You've seen it. The kid goes missing for like 9 years, but he's been flying around in a spaceship, and he's the fucking navigator of the spaceship, and the spaceship talks.
Oh wait, maybe I did see that.
You've seen it. I know you saw it. It's called The Flight of the Navigator. It's just like a disc-shaped ship, and he flies around in it, but it talks to him. It's like an eyeball, and it talks to him the whole time. But yeah. I forget the concept. He's gone for like 9 years. And dude, a movie that you have to watch. You made me watch The Mist. A movie that you absolutely have to watch. Bulworth.
Bulworth?
Just look it up. I'm not even going to sit here and explain it. But it
came out in the 90s.
Yeah. It's Warren Beatty.
Dick Tracy.
Yeah. Dick Tracy, which is another good.
And Holly Berry.
Yeah. Do you remember the
Uh,
movie?
Ghetto superstar.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
what you are.
Yeah.
That was it, right?
Yes.
That was that with Maya.
Well, dude, do you remember the movie?
I know he was a politician.
Well, since you've watched it, I'll give you.
I don't really remember much about it. All I know is he was a politician. Didn't he have a thing with Holly Berry?
Yeah, but here's the thing, dude. This is the thing that makes it so great. You gotta remember the Democrats were in charge at the time. Okay. So the movie was about a guy who was about to lose his campaign. He was up against Bob Dole or something like that. So he was going to lose the campaign anyway. So he just started telling everybody the truth about politics. He ended up somehow with Holly Berry, but the whole reason why Holly Berry was in it was his like right hand person giving him all his information was just this chick from the fucking from a poor urban community telling him like all the problems, because we didn't have such a right and left kind of mindset, and it was just politics in general were against people. The whole movie, the Democrats were in charge of the world at the time. So it wasn't, so basically, I guess what I'm saying is there was no pinpointing it on one party. It was like, this is how bad politicians are to poor people, black people, poor white people, whatever. And this guy's fucking speaking the truth. And I'm not going to blow the ending for you, but if you watch that movie now, basically you got a politician fucking telling it like it is, and you see all the damage it's doing to the people that have been in politics forever, and how they're plotting to kill them, and the big business guys are trying to stop them. There's so many fucking different little messages in that movie. It's insane. But looking at it now, it's almost like disheartening, because you see that they had the same fucking problems then that they do now. You see that these things aren't new, that they've been around, but also the fact that there was no one to blame it on but politicians, period, made like that's what makes me sick about politics now, is that we get to blame it like it's this party that did it. And the reality is this is politicians have done it. Nobody's good. Why are we picking a side of being good or bad? The bottom line is, don't trust these motherfuckers at all, period. Whatever they are, Democrat, Republican, fucking Green Party, I don't know, but you got to watch the fucking movie. It's great. And it's actually pretty funny. And Warren Beatty plays the fucking worst rapper / guy trying to be cool that I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know if it's part of the movie or what, but he's horrendous, and it's great.
I just know bits and pieces, and it might even just be from that Wyclef song and Maya.
Yeah, you're right, because it was the music video.
Yes, yeah.
But dude, it's kind of funny because like I don't want to get into like what he does. That's funny because it's so fucking weird. But the bottom line of why I'm really suggesting you watch it is, it's basically watching a movie where there's a guy like Trump, but take him into a place where people would have loved him. You know what I mean? In other words, an enemy against politicians in general. You know, I mean, maybe you don't identify that as Trump or whatever, but what I'm saying is someone who was not part of the fucking system started telling it like it is. Like in the very beginning, he goes into when he first like loses his shit, he goes up to a church, and he's in a black church, and they start yelling out, "Where were you? Where were the fucking Democrats? You guys came here and you never," and he's like, okay. It was like the first crazy thing he says. And he's like, look, I want to tell you guys the truth. Okay. Here's what happened. We came here and we got our big photos and we got our big check and we got our money. And then to be honest with you, when we left, we didn't give a fuck about you. And it just started like spiraling into like him saying more and more. And he's like pointing at people like, well, you know, it was because of, and it would be like, you know, the CEO of, you know, some giant corporation. He's like, well, he made us come down here because he wanted to build that factory, you know, and it was like everybody hated this guy. But what was so great about it was that if you listen to that then, and there was no bias, like I feel like we used to not take a side. I feel like people like working people and poor people and whatever, we used to just be like, man, politicians are bullshit. And now all of a sudden it's like we're being told these politicians are bullshit and these politicians are saints. And that's the groupthink part I don't like, because my thing is, regardless of who I agree with, I don't always agree with them, and I don't do what the fuck they tell me to do. Okay? That's the thing. And I feel like for the first time that I can remember, from the little bit that I've seen, I don't believe anyone ever believed that their party was a saint. You know what I mean? I don't believe that anyone ever believed like, oh my God, this is what we need to save us and we can trust them. You know what I mean? Which I'm starting to see right now a little bit more with, like, when you saw that Charlemagne interviewing Biden and stuff. The one thing about that got overlooked was that Charlemagne was actually asking that guy, what the fuck are you going to do for us? Like, no more bullshit. We're not just giving somebody our vote. What are you going to fucking do for us? You know?
Yeah.
Uber. I drive Uber.
I'm about to drive Uber.
Where you going?
I don't know. No, I'm about to say I'm about to start driving Uber. I got plenty of time on my hands. So
Dude,
like I don't have my part-time job anymore.
Yeah.
I have way too much free time on my hands, and I'm like, I just want to make money. So like I'm like, I might drive Uber. I don't know. But going off of things to recommend. I know I mentioned Tool, which you probably never fucking listened to. You probably never listened to me about that news.
I got the tattoo TOOL on my knuckles.
Yes, that would be very fitting. But now, listen to this. 2 albums, 2 artists, because I'm not a real big fan of current artists, especially in particular in the hip-hop genre. However, Black, you ever listen to him?
Yeah, no.
No.
I told you who my favorite rapper is, right? Post Malone. That's my new guy.
Are you serious? I mean, dude, don't get me wrong. He's good. He's good.
Dude, no, but here's how much I like him. I went with my girlfriend to Madison Square Garden to see
him.
Yeah.
And
I don't even go do that shit.
I was gonna go with this girl that I was seeing at the time.
I look like my girlfriend's chaperone.
We were gonna go. The tickets were like way too expensive, and I was just like, nah, I don't know. And then like it just never happened, and then we wound up stopping seeing each other anyway. But Black, it starts with a 6. He is absolutely incredible.
Wait, what do you mean it starts with a 6?
His name is Black, but he spells it with a 6. So it's
okay.
like 6
Gotcha.
L-A-C-K.
The 6 looks like a B.
I'm going to tell you right now, bro. You're old school. You were down with like the Roots.
I was down with Vanilla Ice and shit. I know what's up.
No. Like I know you ran with like
I'm Ice Ice Baby all the way through.
You ran with like some R&B cats back in the day.
No, yeah, I loved rap. I think when we were growing up, there was more of a definition between like now rap is all one thing. When we were growing up, you could be in the rap, and then there was another group of people like if you ain't into this shit, you ain't into like I would hear rap that I never fucking heard in my life in the 90s when I thought I knew everything about rap. No, now it's not that same kind of way anymore.
Yeah, they've all blurred the lines. But I'm gonna tell you right now, this dude sings and he raps, but he's Black with a 6. It is at both of his albums are absolutely incredible. Like
that must have been bad for his social media and shit. People are like, Black, where do I find you? He's like, Black with a 6.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I was like, is it Slack? Is it 6 Slack? Like, I didn't know. I didn't really know exactly. But, like,
hit me up on my Instagram. I'm Black with a 6.
Yeah, like, dude, I'm telling you, the dude is just incredible. Incredible. The music, incredible.
Well, dude, you got to look into some new Post Malone stuff.
I have all his albums.
Yeah, he's good, man. I
like Post.
He's starting to kind of fucking like branch out and shit. He's like,
I wish he would cut back on the face tats because like I'm not a big fan of that. Like, remember when Mike Tyson came out and motherfuckers were like, "Oh, that dude's crazy."
Yeah.
Now motherfuckers are like tattooing paragraphs on their face and like it's just everything. But
dude, I just always think like, what's gonna happen when he's 80? Like they'll be like, Grandpop, What's all that smudgy mudgy on your face?
Well, it'll make more sense when he's 80 because it says always tired.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it'll definitely make more sense then.
But I'm sure the kids will believe him. Like I always think, like when you keep getting very separated from who you were. Like for instance, you say you're a trash man. I'm a bartender. I've been a bartender my whole life. At some point in my life, somebody will be saying to somebody, you know, Danny was a bartender, and whoever they're saying it to will go, no, he wasn't, because apparently when you're old and white, people not old and white as I mean, like you're old and your hair's white and everything. It's like I feel like people don't think that people have any history. Like, he's just an old guy. No, he used to be a fucking asshole and he used to fucking, you know, whatever. But I always think it's funny how somebody's going to have to, like, you are going to, like, this is getting a little weird, but you're going to be something different. Even if you fucking, like, you're, like, if you retire from your job at 60, when you're 80, no one will ever fucking know what you did when you were 60. Whereas that's, but the reason why I say that is, with Post Malone, he'll be sitting there and they'll be like, you know, Grandpa was a rapper. And they'll be like, yeah, no shit. He's got fucking tattoos all over his fucking face.
Yeah, he's got a ball and chain on his chin.
Yeah.
He's got stay away, like always tired. Like
he's a white guy with tattoos all over his face. There's only two fucking things that I thought he might have been. So I'm glad you told me he's a rapper.
Exactly. And this, if there's any kids that are fucking listening to us, stay in fucking school. Don't put tattoos on your fucking face. Stay away from that bullshit. Just
unless it's like a really good. If you're like, I gotta get that tattoo.
No,
I've never. How do you see it? How do you see a tattoo? How do you go like, ooh, that one? Yeah, I want that one right on my fucking forehead.
No, bro. No.
I know I like that one. Like, I was gonna put it on my back, but.
Like Amber Rose is gorgeous, and then she just put that shit on her forehead, and I'm like, you're too fucking beautiful for that shit, man. Like, but she can get away with it because she's Amber Rose. Like, you know, if you're a regular dude, don't put shit on your face, bro, because we want you to get a job. We want you to fucking, you know.
Yeah.
We talked about, mediocre is okay.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Post Malone going for a job interview? Like rap didn't work out for him. They're like, so what do you do? He's like, well, I read the books.
Yeah, like he's like, they're like, so are you always tired or just like sometimes? Like,
wait. Now I'm laughing even more because it says always tired. Like they're like, we're looking for somebody who's kind of upbeat and go getter. And how would you describe yourself? And he's saying everything in his face, like literally his face is saying the opposite.
And the interviewer's looking at him like, okay.
Oh, all right.
So you're
a real fucking upbeat guy.
There's going to be a lot of interaction with people that are coming up, and it says "stay away" on your forehead. So, like, what do you think about that? Like, how's that gonna come across?
Yeah. He's definitely not a customer service. Maybe answering phones,
please, kids, stop. Okay, your chances are you're not going to be a little Wayne. Okay, but you might be able to manage a fucking Rite Aid. It's possible. You know what I mean? So
but you definitely take yourself out of a couple of communities, out of a couple like opportunities, if you get always tired on your face. Like somebody's like, I need somebody to fucking, you know, whatever. And he's like, oh, I'll do it. No problem. And I have a feeling you might fall asleep at the fucking helm.
Yeah. Like, how you gonna feel if that dude's your Uber driver? Like, always tired. Like, you got like a little bit of a ride going on here. You gonna be able to stay awake?
Hey, man, how you feel? Like, you get in your Uber. You're like, how's it doing? He looks back. He's like, everything's going good, man. I'm like, yeah, you mind driving me to New York? Oh, yeah, no problem. Looks like this guy's gonna fucking fall asleep.
Like, but seriously, I can't emphasize it enough. The tattoo shit on the face, bro.
Yeah.
You could be a fucking manager at fucking ShopRite, whatever. I'm not saying that you shouldn't aspire to be more than that, but be a good family man. Maybe that's good. You know, you get a 401k, you get some benefits. Good for you, bro. You're not gonna be fucking Jay-Z.
Get him anywhere. Get him all up to your neck. Like your whole body covered in tattoos. No, but what I'm saying is like, listen. I mean, I get it.
I got tattoos, like, bro, look, I got tattoos, like, but, like, not on the face, man, not on the face. And I know I sound like a fucking 40-year-old white guy preaching to a lot of other young people.
Peel and stick.
Not they're gonna listen to me anyway, or they're gonna ever hear this anyway. But my point is, stop. No tattoos on the face. If you're Lil Wayne, get away with it, because you can do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I'm saying? But like,
But the whole thing is, there's no fucking turning back. Like, that is a fucking brave and courageous decision, but stupid. That's just something that, like, no one could ever convince me. Like if I looked at somebody and said, "But why do you want it on your face? Why do you want always tired on your face?"
that's making a statement. Like, I'm either gonna be a rap or a rock artist, whatever. I'm gonna be a musician, and that's where my life is. If not, I might be pumping gas, maybe somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that's the thing that's great about Post Malone is he actually looks like somebody who'd be pumping gas somewhere, but you'd be completely like, don't judge a book by its cover.
He does. So, and here's my other recommendation for you and for everybody that's listening. St. John is my second recommendation. Your girlfriend will bang you to St. John and Black.
Is he a rapper?
He's a rapper, but he's got a real, like, he's got a different swag. Like, he's almost like, he's got a song with Lenny Kravitz that is phenomenal. Like,
I was going to maybe talk about this on another one, so I'm just going to bring it up as something to watch if you haven't already. But I think it'd be a cool thing to talk about too. But the Beastie Boys it's a live documentary. It's basically them on stage telling their story, and it's directed by Spike Jonze, and it's on Apple. It's on Apple TV. I watched pretty much all of it. I fell asleep to it last night. Like I said, I'm not going to get into detail, but I'll just say fucking watch that, and we could talk about that one because I don't know if you. I'm a Beastie Boys fan just like anybody was, but their story's pretty fucking cool. There's shit you don't know. Like, it's good stuff, but it's a pretty fun story. And there wasn't really like any darkness to it, but it's well worth the watch. But dude,
right, so if you're watching the YouTube video, you're seeing me getting really restless. That's because I have to piss like a racehorse.
Yeah, and I gotta try and
podcast.
take a dump.
Thank you for listening. My dog's gotta pee. I gotta fucking pee.
Like and subscribe. Yeah,
we're gonna
read
have
the books.
Yeah, read the books. We're gonna put out some books and read them.
Read the books.
Yeah, we're gonna put out some layman's terms books.
Dude, that's a t-shirt. We don't read.
Wear the shirts. Wear the shirts. Wear the shirts. Read the books. Listen to the podcasts.
All right, Tommy, you go take that.
All
PP.
right.
All right, brother. Good to talk to you, man.
All right. Peace out. Later.